Time being 7 p.m., I call to order the Franklin School Committee meeting. Meetings are recorded by Franklin TV and shown on Comcast Channel 9 and Verizon Channel 29, as well as recorded by Franklin Matters. So tonight we have the Pledge of Allegiance. Our pledge student is Kingsley Desert, a PK1 student in Miss Emily's class at the Pond Street ECDC. He has been a student at the ECDC for 3 years and is getting ready to head off to kindergarten next year. Kingsley is an outgoing, friendly, and engaging member of our school community who always loves to talk with adults and classmates alike. He's a sharp dresser and can often be found wearing his signature cardigan sweaters. His favorite things to do at school are puzzles, reading books to himself and his friends, playing on the playground, and building with blocks. Kingsley has also been the recipient of 2 ECDC Good News Calls of the Day, where he was recognized for being a great friend and trying so hard in school. We are so lucky to have him as part of our very special school community. Way to go, Kingsley.
Hello everyone. My name is Kingsley Gold Desert. I will recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now, as is customary, we'll pause for a moment of silence. Thank you. So, dropping right into our routine business, review of agenda. Did the agenda look good to everyone? Okay. Yeah, everyone saw the change in the order of things? Excellent. Payment of bills, Callahan?
They're in order.
All right. Payrolls in order. FHS student reps, busy tonight?
It's a bit busy tonight. We'll get them back with us next meeting.
Sounds great. And then we have the superintendent's report.
All right, good evening, everyone. I have a few announcements. First, the Horace Mann birthday celebration and the legacy work, I have an update. So Horace Mann's birthday celebrations will take place on May 2nd and May 3rd, hosted by the Franklin Historical Museum. Please continue to promote. We will promote these events, and you can go to the museum's website to learn more. This also connects with the newly formed Horace Mann Legacy Subcommittee that has members of the school committee led by Mr. Callahan, who's chairing that subcommittee. And it's to boost awareness on Horace Mann's contributions. It's to develop some student-centered programs and enhance our campus storytelling and support community engagement around Horace Mann, who was the founder of public education, but also grew up and was born in Franklin. So with that said, there's more public outreach and work that will happen out of that committee, but I wanted to just acknowledge some of the events happening at the museum. Next, transportation registration. So transportation for the 2026-27 school year will open on April 29th, and it will close on June 26th. District-wide communications will be sent to families in advance of the opening date, and all families must complete registration, including those who qualify for free transportation. So registration will be completed through Link Connect, which is the same system we used last year. And for additional details, families are encouraged to visit the district's transportation website. Next, the budget update. The Finance Committee held its budget hearings last Tuesday, April 7th for the schools, and it was a multi-day event across all departments in the town. And they reviewed our requests. They recommended a $60,000 decrease, which would need to move to the town council. The town council will make the final allocation determination after its budget hearings that will take place between May 21st and May 22nd. Which includes all town departments. And additionally, there's a joint budget subcommittee, a collaborative forum of town council, school committee, and finance committee members, and they will hold their first meeting of this year on Thursday, April 16th. Some news in music. The Franklin High School musicians recently competed in a strong festival season at the annual Massachusetts Instrumental and Choral Conductors Association, or it's otherwise known as MICA Festival. 6 ensembles are in top ratings, including gold medals for the concert band and wind ensemble, which qualified both groups to perform at the MICA Gold Medal Showcase on April 12th in Groton Hill Music Center. So congratulations to our student musicians, music educators for their outstanding achievements. I'm pleased to share that 8 of the 22 Franklin High Latin students were recognized for outstanding performance on the 2026 National Latin Exam. This exam included more than 100,000 students from across the U.S. and 26 other nations, making this a significant accomplishment for our students. And awards range from cum laude to summa cum laude based on performance levels of study, and we're very proud of these students and appreciative for the work, and wanted to just give a shout out to those students and their performance. Those include Sarah Uman, who received a gold medal, the silver medal to Christian Matthey, and the magna cum laude medal went to Marie Buzang, Declan Morin, and Athena Watts, and the cum laude award went to Suryam Dungana, Arham Danial, and Kenya Singh. And finally, AI. There's an AI update. The AI tools are already a part of the world of our students that we're growing up in, and we want to make sure that we're approaching this in a way that reflects our community's values and keeps students at the center. On Friday, families will receive a brief survey asking for their input, or your input, your current awareness and experience with AI tools, your beliefs about the role AI should play in education, and your honest reaction to the draft guiding principles our AI committee has developed. The survey will remain open until Tuesday, April 28th at 5 p.m. Educators will receive a similar survey that week as well, and the survey provides an opportunity for your voice to directly shape the guidance and practices that we will use in our schools. And a summary of what we hear from the community will be shared at the June school committee meeting. That concludes my announcements. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions from the committee?
I just want to confirm the dates of that survey. You said it's going out Friday and will remain open until the following Thursday? Is that right?
Yes, it opens on Friday. It'll be sent out on Friday, and it will remain open until the 28th at 5 p.m.
Oh, the 20th. Very good. Thank you.
All set, Reese?
Yes, thank you.
Anyone else? Excellent. All right. So then moving right along, we're going to drop into guests and presentations. Just for the committee's awareness, we're going to observe the presentations as they're presented, and we're going to hold discussion until the discussion action item for the relevant topic, because each one of the presentations directly goes into an action item for the evening.
So just as the projector warms up, I'm excited to welcome our school administrative team. If you look, can you raise your hand if you're on the administrative team, just to give a show of hands across the board? We have every level, every school represented, every department. I'm excited. This was basically when we talk about our administrative retreats and our pre-treats and whatnot, this is the group of folks that have been directly involved in that work. So I'm really proud to be leading this team and working closely with the professionals that you have here tonight. Thank you for setting the stage for the format. This was a meeting where we intended to present over 2 meetings and go with the district level departments and then the schools on another night. Due to some shifting of the agendas, we consolidated to one evening. So we appreciate your understanding of that. And I've asked this team to be concise, and I don't think that the amount of time I've allotted gives justice to the amount of work and volume. I hope that through the links and the evidence that they've shared is indicative of the work that's been accomplished. And we are all here to answer any questions that you have for any particular department or school at the end of the presentations. We welcome that, and I'm just really proud of the work, particularly in a year of significant transition across the board for many levels and many schools and departments. So without further ado, we will just begin and walk through that. I'll stay here, Dr. Rogers, to just save some time. But ultimately, we've used the format of the district improvement plan and school improvement plans that you approved in the fall. So the first few pages that kind of set the stage, including the executive summary, the timelines, our strategic objectives, are all the same that we've presented before. You'll hear tonight from our team in the 4 areas of our strategic objectives based on their goals. The first is how we strengthen school and community and team collaboration. Next is building coherent systems and structures, aligning instructional practices, and enhancing communication. So all of our goals are tied back to those 4 objectives in some form or fashion. We moved on, there's a goal alignment page that gave you a sense of where each level aligned some of their goal work, just so you had it all on one visual. And then as we move forward, you can see how we're organized. And we committed to mid-year progress monitoring and feedback, and that is tonight, that we're doing that for you. And what we'll do is we will kick it off with the department, the Office of Teaching and Learning. We will go in the sequence that the document is laid out in. And like I said, we'll have Dr. Rogers kick us off with her update. Thank you.
All right, well, thank you for having us here tonight. So we are excited to share with you. I will say that Ms. Elizabeth Morrison and Mr. Eric Stark unfortunately aren't with us tonight because they're both at NEASC visits at schools to help Franklin Public Schools prepare for our NEASC visit in the coming year. So they are on site in those districts right now, but I will present this on their behalf. So we had 4 goals in the Office of Teaching and Learning. The 4 centered on around community and really how are we utilizing professional learning time, which is, as you can see here, is a variety of different times we come together as school communities. Our progress update is there for you to see, and what I'd like to draw your attention to is the evidence link there. You'll find both the 25-26 professional learning plan linked there for you, and then also just one example of a presentation that was done at the ECDC by Mr. Eric Stark and Ms. Lizzie Morrison in conjunction with the principal and assistant principal, who will be presenting here shortly. So there's a summary there. Then we move into systems. We worked really hard this year at all levels, are continuing this work around developing our multi-tiered system of supports, or MTSS. So we've been working with building-based leaders on a regular monthly basis to develop a guiding handbook and framework. So what we've done for you there is linked for you what's the beginning of our internal document, but giving you a view of that table of contents of all the work that has gone into developing this to date. Then as we move into instruction, we're really focused on high quality, universally aligned practices. So again, here is where we linked our professional learning plan. And then I would draw your attention to that evidence document process summary. It gives you a visual to show you that during this whole year, we met monthly as district and building-based leaders to conduct ILT meetings, which is instructional learning team meetings, where we visited, I think, over 125 classrooms to date. To look and see what the great things that are happening across the schools and to be able to shape some of the work that moves ahead as we think about professional learning and as we think about curriculum implementation. It's been really pivotal in our planning for next year, and we're really looking forward to kind of enhancing that ILT structure in the coming year. And then finally is communication. We really wanted to try to focus on transparent communication. So linked there for you, we've done monthly newsletters that have gone out to all educators across the district. And linked there for you is just one example for you to see. I think it's the most recent, maybe the March Madness one is the one we linked there. But just some interesting information, polls and things like that that we're trying to engage folks in. So that's Office of Teaching and Learning. Turn it to Student Services.
All right, good evening, everyone. So for the Office of Student Services, I'd like to once again introduce Jennifer Gravlin, who is our Secondary Assistant Director of Special Education, and Andrew Duquette, who is our Elementary Assistant Director of Special Education, who will join me here and talk about our goals. We have 3 goals from the Office of Student Services, focusing on community, instruction, and systems. So we'll let them start.
And so I will start with community. And down if you, okay, we're down there under process, and then evidence and outcomes are there. So in Massachusetts, we had a new IEP that came out. We did a lot of work around this. It's very student-centered and family-oriented, and their input is very important to this. So we did many, many trainings throughout last year, actually a year and a half, and those are linked here for the trainings that we have done. We really concentrated on the data collection and staff being able to collect that data and make really solid, measurable goals for our students, all the way from the impact of their disability to their present levels, to the baseline data they collect, and then of course our measurable goals. So that's all there in that link. The next piece we also have been focusing on is our improved collaboration between our school team and our families. This is another area that our new IEP actually addresses. And we started to have our staff send home an IEP before the meeting, which gave parents a chance to have that input and be able to come into the meeting and be able to be reflective on that. Of course, it was just a draft, but it gave the parents the opportunity to communicate more with us and be prepared for that meeting. Also, after our meetings, we take some meeting notes, and on there, we have a parent survey. And we use that information for us to reflect on what we could do better in our team meetings and what we're already doing really well. Some of those results were the vast majority of parents did feel that they had input into the meeting. And the other piece, that they did feel that the input was valued, that they get to be a part of that. And the last piece is our walkthrough trends and feedback. As Dr. Rogers said, we had gone through as an administrative team to many, many different classrooms, meeting after to debrief and start planning on future professional learning.
So in the next area, we focused on instruction, so that involved us, ensuring high quality, university design instruction, inclusive practices across all of our classrooms. This was a really fun objective to work on because part of our focus was having instructional leadership teams across each building. So that involved staff from central office, the building administrators coming together, looking at a variety of topics that were important to the building as we aligned practices across newly formed buildings. So that involved us doing, I think Ms. Rogers has said, over 100 observations in classrooms, and that was just, so meaningful to be able to go and see what our teachers are doing, how we're reaching our kids. In student services, we're especially focused on least restrictive environment, how the data in our IEPs impact students in the classroom. So part of our process was, like I said, doing those walkthroughs. We created observation tools to help us look at both times in the inclusive setting, but also special education setting. That work is still going to be continuing from here. We focused on, seeing all types of classrooms across the buildings. It was good for all of us to, see what each teacher was doing in their classroom, come back together to discuss it as a group, look for trends within the building so that we can better support teachers and how we instruct our kids. So as part of this, we did 3 to 4 walkthroughs per building. It's probably even more than that, I would say. I was looking at my calendar to try to get an idea of how many ILT meetings I went to, and it was more than that. So we really were able to get into a lot of different classrooms. From there, we created the observation tools for a general education and a special education setting, just to really try to see what we're seeing across the different environments so that we can make sure that we are supporting our students in those places. Like we talked about with least restrictive environment, it lends itself to what we're putting into the IEP, and we want to make sure that what we're doing is meaningful for the students and we're seeing the outcomes that we expect. And then finally, the inclusion classrooms, that's our focus. We want kids to be in inclusion if they're able to. If we are going to be instructing in a special education setting, making sure our practices in there are eventually going to get kids to be successful in a least restrictive environment in a general education classroom.
Right. And our third goal focuses on our system. So this one focused on refining our investigation process to ensure that there is clarity, fairness, legal compliance, and consistency across the district in regards to our investigations. We kicked off the school year with a training for all of our administrators on investigations, Title IX, and bullying and civil rights. Then each administrator often would call me when an investigation was taking place to discuss the process, making sure everything was done in a timely manner according to the guidelines and to the regulations, as well as discussing their findings and where they were leaning regarding, if there was a finding or a no finding part of their investigation. I was then able to review their documentation, so I would review their investigation report as well as their finding letters to ensure that all the necessary information, according to our policies and Mass General Law, were included in those letters and that they were sent out in a timely manner. And then we would then log those investigations here at central office so that we have an accurate count every year when we have to report to DESE. That concludes student services.
Okay, I'll go from here. Good evening, everyone.
Thank you. Love the support.
Good evening, everyone. So the Business and Finance Office had one goal this year, and it was around systems to establish consistent operational routines and budgeting processes to ensure clarity, alignment, and streamlined communication, just to support effective daily functioning across all schools and departments. So we developed a structured and supportive budget process across the district by implementing tools, timelines, and communication practices. We created and distributed standardized budget workbooks and guidelines to ensure consistency at all levels, and published a comprehensive budget calendar with defined deadlines to keep everyone on track. To build capacity, we also met directly with cost center leaders to review expectations and provide guidance on using the new materials. Throughout the budget cycle, we established regular communication channels, including check-ins and availability for support, and also offered ongoing clarification as needed. This approach resulted in a more transparent and efficient budget development process throughout the year. You can see the evidence linked, both the budget calendar for FY27 and the budget book. They are both on the website and under the budget website as well.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Ken Storlazzi. I'm the Director of Human Resources.
I'm Shannon Dixon. I'm the Assistant Director.
So we have one goal that we focused on this year, and it's under the category of systems, which, if you don't already know, is one of the superintendent's favorite words. We decided to focus on hiring. In coming to the district 3 years ago, while there are a lot of various documents and established procedures and email threads, there really was not one source document to combine everything. So that, along with the fact that we have several new administrators that we've hired over the last 3 years, some of them being new to their roles, we decided to take this on. And so this was a multi-step process that involved collecting sample hiring documents from other districts. We also surveyed our administrative team to find out what things work well, what things don't work well, what things are we missing. And so with all that information, we created a draft document, and we reviewed that document at the central office level and got some additional feedback. And I'm happy to report that we finished the document, and we've shared it with some of the administrative team, and we'll be sharing it with the rest of the team over the next week or so. I think it'll be received in a positive way. The last step in our process, or in determining if it's successful, is to kind of follow up with administrators at the end of this hiring season to get additional feedback. And no document is ever complete, so we're happy to look at it next year and make some tweaks. But I think this is a good starting point for something that hasn't existed before. So I'm going to turn it over to Shannon to talk a little bit about the evidence.
So the evidence that we attached there is really just a table of contents, but we thought it was really important to ensure that hiring administrators had all that they needed in the document, from the start posting for an open position, through the interview process, pre-screening interviews, evaluation of candidates, reference checks, only giving you a sample, final interview, and sort of what happens then in HR when somebody has made it to the point that we are sending them all of the information, so hiring managers know all of those things that happen behind the scenes. And that's really makes up the entirety of our packet to go to those folks so that they can do their job of hiring the best candidate. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Patty Gay. I'm the Director of Lifelong Learning. Thank you for having me here tonight. So I was just here last meeting, so. But our goals are to continue to provide accessible, high-quality programs for the community. We are also looking and working really hard at developing and starting our toddler program for next year for staff, and as well as continuing to explore the wraparound care for ECDC. So what we're hoping to obtain is the increased participation, of course, participant satisfaction, and enrollment in the staff child care. So the other main goal that we have for this year, which we talked a little bit about in January, and it's still in progress, is the streamlining of our registration process. We are working really hard with our registration system and their representatives to make it a lot more streamlined for next year, and that's one of our major goals. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Colin Boisvert, the Director of Operations. The Operations Department had 3 goals within systems and communications. The first goal was a systems goal, was to create and update district procedures for facilities use and rental, transportation, and school facilities maintenance. This was also to develop and implement training and communication for staff as far as implementing these changes in procedures or updates. So this involved reviewing a lot of the policies and policies and procedures that were currently here in the district and looking at updating them. The 2 areas that are evidenced are building use related. The building use website was overhauled. The information is a little bit more streamlined. It flows a lot better. It's easier to find what you're looking for and kind of just understand the process for both internal and external users. Also, the policy update right now is actually going for its first read tonight. It's KFE1, E2, and E3. And I'd like to give Josie, who's the assistant operations role, a lot of credit for all the work that she did on reviewing and updating a lot of the language in that policy. As far as transportation is going to be coming next as the registration season starts, and school facilities maintenance is ongoing with the facilities department. The second goal is a systems goal, looking to continue the long-range planning of capital improvements with FPS reorganization needs and infrastructure priority. This year's capital requests are in and linked as evidence, and our 5-year plan is in development right now and kind of working with different departments just to finalize our longer-term plan for 5 years out. The last goal for operations was communication, and this was to provide clear, accurate, and easy to understand information that's readily available through a variety of ways, looking to engage different stakeholders in different areas and departments in the community. The linked evidence is, again, building use related. That was a big focus for this department this year. So the building rental portal is the new front-facing website for external users. Has a great way to provide information, and it's provided an easier way for outside users to work with us in renting space, understanding the procedure and policies, and to also get information from them as well. We also released a building use survey on this new system, and we found that overall it is it's a great improvement over the old email-based PDF for handwritten process that we had. A lot of the users found that it's easy to use once you start to use it, but some of the challenges that we found from the survey is that as a first-time user, you kind of have to get in and kind of understand you need to have a group, you need to figure out how to find your space and book it. We have provided some guidance on that as well, and as we start to onboard newer groups, we've started to include a little bit of an instruction and background on how to do that by learning that. We also look to communicate with our new users as far as how to find policies and again, integrate them into our website that has all that information as well.
Good evening, everyone. This is Jillian Swanson, our Assistant Principal of Special Education Services, and I'm Kim Taylor, Principal at the ECDC. Thank you for having us here tonight. Jillian's going to start off with our introduction.
And our preschool size notes. We're so proud of this work that the ECDC community has accomplished, truly as a team with all stakeholders involved. This year has been a period of notable change and growth as we strive to provide a cohesive, high-quality early childhood experience across both the Oak Street and Pond Street locations. It has certainly been a year of change and challenge, and one for which the team with whom we work with each and every day should receive many accolades, aka kudos. Our collective efforts have focused on building a unified identity that celebrates the unique strengths of our staff, students, and our families.
Our first goal in our school improvement plan focused on community, specifically cultivating a welcoming and inclusive environment where all students, families, and staff feel a sense of belonging and trust. To achieve this, we established a culture and community team to facilitate collaboration across both sites and empower family voices through our dual-site PCC. Evidence of our success includes high engagement in school events, such as curriculum and new student open houses, playground meetups at both locations, and a staff scavenger hunt, which was probably the most fun that the staff has had in a very long time together. You could see in the evidence, there was a slideshow from that. We have further nurtured these connections in the community through a multi-level partnership with Franklin High School students in various classes and programs such as Early Childhood 2, Children's Literature, and visits from the Strive students at the high school. Consistent communication has gone out through newsletters, Google Classroom sites, and various press releases, ensuring every voice in our dual-site community is heard and valued. We look forward to surveying our families in the coming month in order to gather additional feedback regarding community connections during this pivotal transition year for our school.
Next, we address one of our first systems goals through the development of consistent data, which was one of my favorites as a former special ed teacher. Our team should be celebrated for their strength and excellence with data collection and our motto, data or it didn't happen. They have successfully implemented the use of data binders and collection methods across all classrooms and special services, as evidenced by the photos that were taken and shared. We have monthly data checks where we go into the classrooms as administrators. We also tell them, please don't stop teaching, but they can't wait to show us something new that they've tried. So we get to see what is meaningful to them and also real-time findings. Our commitment to data-driven instruction is further demonstrated by professional learning logs from training sessions that were held October 1st, November 4th, and February 5th, as well as establishing a connection with DESE's early literacy assessment team and Renaissance in order to pilot the START preschool program with a selected number of students who will be entering kindergarten in the fall.
And before she goes on, I have to give her accolades and kudos for her leading that goal. She did an outstanding job leading that goal through her first year. So kudos to Jillian for that one.
Our second systems goal focused on establishing aligned operational structures to ensure consistency in daily routines and safety across both sites. A major highlight of this work was the successful implementation of daily lunchroom procedures at the Pond Street location, where students are now able to walk through the line, access the cafeteria, have hot lunch, sit with their friends.
So we think it would be really good for when they go to kindergarten, and we hope that they see it when they get there. And this is also seen in the evidence photos provided that these students have mastered this skill. Additional evidence on our alignment includes standardized arrival and dismissal documents and 100% staff participation in safety and fire drill protocols.
And finally, our last goal around instruction centers on deepening curricular practices through a shared commitment to UDL and integrated instructional practices in classrooms. Evidence of our progress includes agendas from specialized UDL professional development sessions, the development of shared agreements with Mr. Stark and Mrs. Morrison, for our pre-K On My Way instructional components, and the successful execution of our first curriculum carousel, which was an opportunity for teachers to move around the building and see different activities that other teachers had created in order to learn and share within the curriculum themes. During our instructional leadership team, now I think we're maybe the fourth team that has talked about ILT, this completely exceeded our goal, and we felt, both of us as well as central office, a profound sense of pride and inspiration, seeing our students successfully responding to the abilities of their teachers to meet the unique needs of every learner through intentionally designed instructional activities. This was an extremely satisfying and beneficial practice that we hope to actually extend with our staff in the future and allow them to visit classrooms. As we reflect on these accomplishments, we are energized by the strong foundation we have built together as one ECDC community. This year's progress highlights the power of collaboration, shared purpose, and a deep commitment to our youngest learners. We are proud of how far we have come in creating a unified, high-quality experience across both locations, and we look forward to building on this momentum. In the months ahead and into the next school year, we are excited to continue strengthening our systems, deepening our instructional practices, and fostering an even greater sense of connection and belonging for all students, staff, and families.
Hi, thank you so much for having us tonight. We're excited to be here as a K-2 team, sharing and speaking to some of our goals and some of our evidence that we've worked on this year. I think while much of our work, first of all, Carrie B. Savage, principal of Lincoln Street, joined by
Sam Duffy, assistant principal of Lincoln Street.
Stephanie Wasik, principal of Washington.
Darren Lynch Friedman, good to see you all from Washington K-2 assistant principal.
I think while you'll notice our work that we're presenting on as K-2, I think there's a definite intention that we stay connected to our colleagues in 3 to 5. So some of the work that we will reference is K-5 work that spans in order to promote connections for students, teachers, families, as well as administrators. So our first goal focused around community and connections and really that sense of student belonging. And I think an essential piece to our work was the development of our core values across all of our schools. And these were opportunities to listen to students, listen to teachers, have shared conversations together about what we really wanted our core values to be. And what does it look like in classrooms? What does it sound like if you were to walk in? And I think part of it also is celebrating those moments for kids where we could name it and actually share that together. I think our core values, coupled with student expectations as well, become the basis for our conversations with students around day-to-day activities, as well as learning conversations as well. Another piece that was really essential to the work connected to this goal was our partnership with our PCC and our families in building those connections. I think it was an essential piece and valued by all of us, honoring past traditions as well as looking to new, and kind of setting that course and charting that work together. Our school climate surveys, we engaged our staff mid-year around feedback towards progress towards monitoring our goals in the areas of scheduling, physical environment, teaming structures, and culture. And I think we reflected on those results. I think we've made slight shifts in the moment where we can. And I think there's things to look and think about long-term as well. And then the final piece to note connected to this goal too was our work in developing our K-5 school councils as another way to engage with families, hear voices, and how does that council partner with our PCC to work on joint efforts together in terms of providing opportunities for parents to connect, learn together, and partner to grow that work. So that was goal number 1. Goal number 2, in terms of systems, we have worked a lot as a group around schedules, routines, structures, and procedures. And a lot of this for us is how we communicate that with staff, whether that's a landing page, a website, a jump page, a weekly memo. I think we've all found our flow in terms of how we uniquely communicate and update our staff. But that was a large part of our work with developing master schedules, unified arts, even down to more procedural things where how does the traffic flow for lunch and recess out of the cafeteria where you're moving 180 students versus 90 students. So I think when we really drilled down, we had to look at each sort of piece of our day and identify where we needed to put procedures and routines in place that were tweaked along the way. Another piece is examining professional learning opportunities for staff and how we look at our scheduling to create momentum in learning topics for teachers, how we use staff meetings, department meetings, professional learning, common professional time outside of daily preps. So I think we spend a lot of time just thinking about how do those pieces interconnect for staff as well. And student expectations was also a piece of evidence outcome that was linked. And I think for our students too, social stories, as well as making those expectations paired with visuals to make them present in our buildings was part of the work that we worked on. And then systems related to our team-based meeting structures when we talk about procedures. Our multi-tiered systems support team meetings, our academic leadership team meetings. We looked at how those were scheduled, where they were placed, and really looking at target-focused agendas for when we meet with staff.
Thank you. So our third goal, still focused around systems, is around establishing and implementing consistent, clear routines and procedures and protocol to promote supports through a robust MTSS framework. And I do want to give great recognition to our assistant principals and our curriculum specialists who really have led this work and just done, a great deal of phenomenal work in this area. So first is around partnering with, together with the elementary team and the Office of Teaching and Learning to develop that MTSS framework, including working to create an MTSS handbook that outlines those processes and procedures and tiered supports. Also establishing really clear processes and practices across both Washington and Lincoln, K-5, implementing really clear and consistent teaming structures. You'll hear me say clear and consistent a lot with this, I think back to systems. And including regular MTSS consults where not only, I love the data, it didn't happen, and then including meeting regularly to review that data and student needs and our planned targeted supports for students. Creating and utilizing referral systems and forms and panorama uploads to make sure that we're being consistent and documenting students' plans and growth. Developing Tier 2 and Tier 3 intervention plans, again, with collaboration between administrators and specialists and interventionists. And utilizing tools like at Washington, I know it's our intervention workbook, which is linked, or I think a photo is linked there. And the Lincoln MTSS plans to guide instructional decision-making and track student progress, and then really increasing staff engagement and understanding of MTSS processes, and providing ongoing professional learning and aligned systems across schools. Our fourth goal is around instruction and ensuring high quality and universally designed inclusive instruction across all grade levels by implementing a collaborative professional learning model and a focus, again, on data-driven instructional decision-making. So we've established consistent data-driven CPT structures at both schools, supported by shared resources. At Washington, it's our curriculum jump page. At Lincoln, it's a landing page, but really kind of one-stop shopping and making sure information is right there at people's fingertips. Engaging grade level teams in CPT cycles, again, focused on analyzing assessment data and aligning instructional practices. We're also working to utilize the MTSS intervention cycle to identify student needs and create targeted groupings, again, designing tiered supports. Strengthening our Tier 1 instruction. Another saying we say often is you can't kind of Tier 2 your way out of a Tier 1 issue. So really strengthening Tier 1 instruction through focused professional learning and an emphasis on essential literacy components, especially again at the K2 level. Again, you'll hear ILT, so implementing those ILT walkthroughs that you're hearing about, providing feedback with a UDL focus. Creating structured opportunities for peer observation is something I think we're looking forward to making sure we have structured opportunities for teachers to observe each other and be in each other's classrooms. Providing ongoing training and consultation, especially for ESPs, is a real focus. I know we started the year with some training around behavior, AAC, so keeping that going. And then supporting specialized program implementation for our specialized programs for instructional consistency. And at Washington, I can speak to kind of a teamed mentoring and coaching approach that happens monthly. And then finally, our last goal is around communication and implementing consistent multi-platform communication strategies to make sure communication is timely and transparent, that we're providing information about events and routines and student learning. And that looks like established consistent communication routines. We really try to be very predictable so families know, what to expect and when to expect it. Regular staff updates, so those happen for families and for staff, weekly in a structured manner. Also maintaining websites and calendars, making sure families have access to current information and events. Strengthening transparency and connection through, I know we keep newsletter archives and also archives of our in-school communication so people know, again, kind of where to look for what information. And then expanding our communication, both partnering with the PCC and making sure their communication is either integrated with ours or, again, regular in nature. And having grade level Facebook pages. We'll often refer new families, and say the school isn't in charge of that, but no, those are out there for you as a way to connect with other families. Partnering with school council. And just, again, increased opportunities for family engagement and awareness, utilizing analytics and feedback to monitor that engagement and kind of adjusting accordingly. Are our messages getting, to the right people at the right time? And then finally, we've worked to engage our school council stakeholders. We're planning for a family survey mid-May and are working to engage school council stakeholders in, what information would you like to be asked? The line I used with our school council was, if Superintendent Jagir called you tomorrow, what would you want him to be asking you? Like, what do you want us to know? So those are our 5 goals.
All right, good evening. Sometimes following K2 is really difficult, and sometimes it's great. So they covered a lot of things, and as Mrs. Buse-Savage said, there's a lot of overlap, a lot of the things that you heard. You'll also find on our document too, so we'll try not to be too redundant. My name's Evan Shulman. I'm the principal at Washington Street School. Brad Hendrickson, principal at Lincoln. And then we have Kristen Ray, who's the assistant principal at Lincoln, and Amy Harvey, who's the assistant principal at Washington. Also, just wanted to acknowledge Miss Katrin O'Rourke, back in the audience, who could have very easily come up with student services, could have come up with K2, could have come up with us, but she's got enough steps in today. All right, so we'll just start off by saying that we had 4 goals at the 3 to 5 level. We had a community goal. We had 2 systems goals, one around learning environment, creating a positive, nurturing learning environment. The other systems goal is around the MTSS, multi-tiered systems of support, which again, you heard a lot about that, with our K-2 counterparts. And then the 4th goal being around instruction. You also heard a lot about the ILT, which I thought Mr. Duquette did a very good job explaining that as well. So we'll just kind of start off by going through each one. Mr. Hendrickson and I'll just kind of go through maybe one piece that we'd like to highlight, and again, try not to be too redundant, but also knowing that a lot of the things you just heard are happening at both K-2 and 3 to 5. So starting off with the first one, which is a community goal around welcoming and an inclusive school community and creating that for students, teachers, and families. So just one thing to highlight at Washington 3 to 5, like we think that our whole school meetings that we host each month, and I know that they're also happening with our K-2 counterparts. So at those whole school meetings, right, we had to start the year by setting some expectations because we just relied on everything people were coming to, with from their previous schools, right? And so setting some expectations while we created our core values and tried to explain to teachers and students and families about those expectations. So we used our whole school meetings for that. Also, we gave out, and still do, Golden Apple Awards to staff who are also showing our core values. It's a chance to recognize students for Prowl Awards. Prowl, the core values that we created at the 3 to 5, which is practicing leadership, respect and responsibility, open to others, working for growth, and then laughing and bring joy.
All right, and a couple things that we're doing at Lincoln, just to highlight, it's difficult to do this. Everything that we're doing this year is aligned to this work, these goals, creating something new, creating something great for kids. And so similar to what Evan was talking about, we started the year with really clear expectations. We're bringing kids in from all different schools, make sure that they know what's expected in all different areas of the school, classrooms, hallways, bathrooms, buses, everything, just to have something that was like clear expectations for all. And then as we went through the year, we were able to get input and do a more collaborative project of creating core values for our school. And that's allowed us to be able to really highlight some of the things that we want to see in action. And bring back some positivity. I think what we found is when you start with just the expectations, then you're redirecting a lot. But now that we have these core values, we're able to really highlight the positive, catch kids in the moment, and celebrate them.
Yeah, moving into the second goal, which is a systems goal, and this system, this was around, foundational systems and structures that support a cohesive school identity, efficiency, positivity, as Brad was just saying, and an inclusive environment. So just to highlight a lot of the things that you've already heard about traffic patterns, expectations, and things like that. Just one example that you'll find on there is the operating schedule. It's just a sample where it's got several tabs at the bottom. On the Washington one, you'll find K-2 and 3 to 5 tabs, everything from lunch duties, morning and afternoon assignments for teachers. It's where they can go to find out what the master academic schedule is. It's where you can go to find out our CPT schedules. It's where you can go to find out our half-day schedules. So I know that I think Mrs. Wasik and Mrs. Busavage both talked about jump pages, yes, specials, schedules, just so it's all there. So if I'm a service provider and I need to know when this student goes to art tomorrow, I can go there. And so just trying to do some one-stop shopping for staff so that they have one location they can get to be able to find the information they need.
And then the artifact I just wanted to highlight in this category is our master schedule, very similar to what Evan was talking about. we intentionally designed schedules for our grades, able to just really make sure we use the people in the building as best as we can. And so we have a pod structure where in each grade level there's a pod A and pod B, and then we staggered instruction across grade levels so that we could share staff across the hallway, make sure students get what they need when they need it. And I felt like that's a piece that's gone really well. But then through reflection with staff and listening to them and their feedback, we're really looking at, like right now, it's the schedule is the same every day, which is great for kids and helps them to have the routine. But we're looking now at next year having something that's more 5-day, more flexible, so we can get to everything. I think we feel the time crunch of the day with our, especially in 3 to 5 curriculum heavy. And so we really want to think of how can we get more science in? How can we have social studies have a role within our schedule more frequently? Social emotional, how can we carve out more time for that? We do all these things, but I feel like we feel the crunch for it, and we want to make sure we have more time for those. And so that's kind of what we're looking to do with our master schedule.
Moving to the third goal, which is also a systems goal. This one is more around the multi-tiered systems of support. What do we put into place so that the right students are getting the right interventions, the right, the right attention from the right people, right? So for this one, I think one thing we wanted to highlight is the work that we did with Panorama this year. Not only do our 3 to 5 students take the Panorama survey, which helps us to sort of target at both, building level and then grade level and then classroom level sort of characteristics that we have as strengths, areas for growth.
SEL survey.
Yeah, SEL survey, yep. But then also we worked with Panorama we had this exercise we did where we had to identify our teaming structures. Who do we spend our time with meeting with each week or bi-weekly? What are the groups that we meet with? Do we meet with our adjustment counselors, our curriculum, curriculum and specialists and such? And then what do we talk about? We got all the way down to what do our agendas look like? What should they look like? Are we talking about high-level things? Are we talking about students? How are we using data in these meetings to inform, how we move forward? So that was something helpful that we worked on as a 3 to 5 level, also as a K to 2 level.
And then I was just going to highlight the same thing everybody else talked about with the ILT. That's just been a great process that we've been able to use. So we do it K to 5. So with our K to 2 partners at Lincoln, that's something where we go and we talk about what we're expecting to see for instruction. We get to go walk through. We see trends, we're able to highlight it, and then that helps us to make decisions on what are we going to do for the upcoming PLC, what are we going to do for our upcoming half days, where's the need, where do we see practice that can be highlighted, and share some of the great things that are going on in the classroom. And that's just been a great process.
Yeah. And then our fourth goal is around instruction. This one you'll find up here our ILT agendas, the instructional leadership team agendas, as Brad just spoke about. Also, you'll find some sample agendas from PLCs and CPTs. We mentioned assessment calendars that we have. Also, Panorama usage reports. So this is sort of, mostly dedicated to the work we have around our CPTs.
Yep, and that's the same thing I highlighted here is our sample PLC. What we tried to do, if our goal is to align in practice and align instruction, the way that we approach that goal is really to think about what are the outcomes. We wanted to have consistent expectations for student outcomes. And so we would pick a task that everybody in the grade level was going to complete, and then we'd come back and look at student work. And so it's still protecting autonomy of teachers so they can decide what to prioritize, how to get to that goal. But the way for us to kind of make sure that students are getting a similar experience to see what's their output, what are kids able to produce. And so if you look through that, you'll be able to see kind of our theory of action.
Yeah. Also, everything that they said before us. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All All right, I'm Craig Williams, principal of Franklin Middle School, and I'm joined today, and also very fortunately joined every day at school by Danielle Champagne, assistant principal, Becky Motti, administrator of student services, as well as Mr. Corey Cox, who is, I believe, at a softball game with his daughter this evening. So like everyone who presented before, we wanted to ground our work in the reality of what this year was, a year of true change. We set lofty, ambitious goals in which we're building systems and structures, community, ensuring high-quality instruction, and creating clear and consistent communication. We aim to do this in order to bring together 3 school communities to one. What worked in our previous smaller settings would not scale to a school of over 1,000 students. So this year was really about building from the ground up and building a strong foundation. So a significant aspect of that work to build structures was the focus on building strong, consistent team and PLC meeting systems and structures. We began the year with getting really clear on why these meetings matter, that they are time to improve teaching and support students. And so you see there as evidence establishing our PLC norms and structures, as well as our PLC launch that was done with the work of our department heads, who have done a phenomenal job this year in establishing that role. From there, we created consistent structures and expectations for meetings so that every team wasn't having to reinvent the wheel. We wanted to make sure that we built in the protected time during the school day for both professional learning communities and team meetings. And in fact, when we identified a clear need that we needed our teams to be able to meet more, we tweaked the schedule for this year and then have done some significant change for next year that we're excited for, to offer more team meeting time. We wanted to focus our professional learning communities on 3 basic questions. What do we want students to learn? How do we know if they learned it? And then what do we do if they don't? And so we were able to use the PLC time to be able to answer those 3 questions, while using our team meeting time to focus on support of the whole child, academics, behavior, and support. And so how as we, as an admin team, supported this process. We worked to develop shared agendas, norms, and collaborative structures, as well as really that leadership support. There was leadership support in every single one of those meetings to provide the staff what they needed. And then next year, we're excited with the opportunity for teams to be meeting more frequently, which will help us even strengthen this work.
Our second goal is our systems goal, which focuses on our MTSS teaming structures. So again, coming into this school year with the 3 middle schools coming together, we knew that we had to have opportunities to share and calibrate practices across the 3 schools as it related to establishing effective MTSS structures. So we began by developing a clear and shared vision that was aligned with the district frameworks that was discussed earlier tonight. And then we've begun to build those teaming structures, including a Tier 1 instructional leadership team and Tier 2, Tier 3 intervention support team, which clearly outlines roles and responsibilities for different members and is representative of staff from different grade levels and departments. And through some of those meetings, we've engaged in protocols and discussions to talk about what does or what should Tier 1 instruction look like at Franklin Middle School. And then in our Tier 2, Tier 3 meetings, we've explored a variety of data, academics, attendance, social emotional discipline data, to look at trends and how that data and the trends that we see can inform our Tier 2, Tier 3 practices. And then lastly, to ensure that consistency, we're in the process of developing a Franklin Middle School MTSS handbook that includes clearly defined referral pathways, as well as the continuum of tiered support. So our hope is, as we continue this work and continue to define and strengthen those practices and processes, that we'll be able to identify students early on, support them consistently, and provide those targeted tiered interventions that meet specific individual needs.
I'm going to highlight our third goal, which is our instructional goal for high-quality inclusive instruction. Just some updates on where we are with that. Part of the task was, again, establishing a clear vision for what our Tier 1 inclusive practices were. And as you can imagine, there's a lot of work that has been going on for many, many years in Franklin, so it was really taking a lot of the good work that we've been doing and then creating those foundational blocks for Franklin Middle School. So some of our former professional development, some of the resources like our DCAP, and then also really establishing and focusing on areas such as clarity of what are teachers trying to teach, why is it important for students to learn, how do we all know that they're learning it, and how can they articulate that back to others. So that has really been a focus for us in the work that we've been doing, and utilizing a lot of the team structures and a lot of the different resources that we have now all under one roof to make sure that we're focusing on that clarity and on those foundational blocks for instruction. We are aligning those departments and those different opportunities to meet, whether it's a leadership team or a department team. Our counseling department is now a larger department, whereas in a smaller building, it was maybe just 1 or 2 counselors. So all of those practices have taken some time to just align and collaborate. Collaboration continues to be an area of focus, identifying what those Tier 1 responses should be, whether it's in a classroom, whether it's by a team, whether it's by a grade level or a content area. So really a lot of work going in some of those structures of meeting time that we've put in place. Clarifying roles and responsibilities, as you can imagine. Who do you go to when you have questions about X, Y, or Z has been a real important priority for us this year, so that the work can be even streamlined further down the road. And then identifying further areas for collaboration and systemization as we go along. What are the bumps in the road that we found along the way, and how do we make them even better? I want to highlight the walkthroughs as well that we've established as part of our practice, not only from a building standpoint, but also across the district. It's been a hugely positive experience. We're all working so hard to help our middle school students and to help our middle school teachers, and to be able to come together and get into classrooms and see the amazing work that they're doing has really been a pleasure, and something that it's so great that we're continuing to find the time to do that, and to do that together as a leadership team has been really important. And then really being able to see what our leadership within our teachers has when it comes to instruction, and wanting to tap into those leaders who are doing things really well, who have great ideas, and who are finding those ways to meet all different students' needs. So those are some things that we've been focusing on this year.
All right, and our final major focus this year was building clear and consistent communication, both for staff and families. And so we established a weekly staff memo with recognition to keep, with instructional focus and staff recognition to keep our priorities front and center. The staff memo there happened to be the week after our famous Pi Day video, in which there was a lot to celebrate within our community. I was thinking, instead of us talking, we just show the video again, but I decided instead to give this up for us to give this update. We also wanted to make sure that we're creating a weekly family communication using a very simple format of need to know, good to know, and nice to know. And I have to say, made it being on time every week except for this week, but not bad percentage there. And really just made sure that the key information, the events, supports, dates were clear, organized, and predictable for families. And the goal is simple, make communication easy to access, easy to understand, and consistent. So that, this year, as we've shared, was really just about building that. It was about building that foundation. And next year, we really hope to make it stronger and more consistent, more impactful for our students, and more supportive for our staff. We are on the right path, and we're excited to finish off this year and bring 26, 27 and make us even stronger.
Good evening, everyone. Hi. Is this one on? I'm Maria Weber, principal of Franklin High School. I'm here with our full team tonight, so I'm very excited to introduce those of you who don't already know. So this is our associate principal, Kristen Reed, and assistant principal, Kathy Klein, assistant principal, Leanne Soulard, and assistant principal, Mike Walsh. We are very excited. We are an ambitious team, I'll say, because we have 5 goals to share with you tonight. And they are actually pretty ambitious goals, I will say. I'm very proud and grateful for this leadership team, for the amount of work and dedication they put into really selecting goals that we think will have an impact, a positive impact on student learning and just the overall community and sort of vibe of our building. And we have a lot of great things to share. We could probably take a lot longer than our 4 allotted minutes, but we're going to stick to that.
Clock's ticking, Dr. Weber.
It's this team, and it extends to our full faculty and all of our students who really embraced the work that we're doing this year and the work that we hope to continue to do. So I will start us off by talking a little bit about our first goal centered around community and the famous WIN block that you've heard about. So our WIN block implementation is well underway. It's progressing steadily. We've actively been monitoring its impact through classroom observations, pulling some data surrounding discipline and some other engagement type of things. We're seeing students accessing targeted academic and social-emotional supports during this WIN block time and strengthening a sense of community during their home-based days. We've established a strong staff and student engagement. We have 100% of staff and 100% of students actively participating every week in our scheduling system, and that means that they are in turn in the right places for the most part, and we have lots of engaging things set up for students. We continue to gather feedback through our WIN block committee meetings, and we also get feedback through staff and student surveys, and these really guide ongoing discussions that we have and adjustments that we're considering for next year. We have dedicated time during release days, our faculty learning groups, Department of Common Planning time. All these things have allowed us to regularly review and refine the program. At this point, our grade trend data remains inconclusive because basically of a timing thing. We really need the whole year to go by before we can draw conclusions based on where the impact that the WIN block may have had on student failure rates. So early looks suggest a positive change, but we'll know more as the year ends, and we'll be able to draw more conclusive data. But we have seen significant decreases in student discipline that you saw linked in the evidence if you had a chance to look at that. So that was a surprising byproduct, and that you can infer a lot from that. But we're just happy to see that WIN block is having that positive impact. The kids are, I think all signs point to being more engaged throughout the school day as a result of its implementation. We've also noticed, and that's not linked in the evidence, it's kind of new evidence, we also noticed a decrease in the number of students accessing the Academic Learning Center after school, which by half. So last year, and thanks to Nikki Hafley for this, our math department head, she pulled some data. Last year we had about 1,200 students accessing the Academic Learning Center. This year that's under 700. And that's really a good piece of evidence because it shows that these kids are accessing the supports that they need during the school day. But also with lower numbers, we're still offering the same amount of sessions, but kids are getting more individualized attention because those smaller groups exist in the ALC in the afternoons now. So lots of positive things, I think, coming out of this goal.
So I'm going to talk about our systems goal, which was essentially establishing the meeting structure to support all of the data collection surrounding our WIN block implementation and the grading practices. I forgot to scroll too, multitasking. So basically, in order to examine our WIN block and our grading practices, we developed meetings that aligned with with our schedule for the year. Basically, we developed a meeting cadence in which that aligned with the implementation of our WIN blocks, that we were examining it in a timely manner, and then also examining our grading practices as well. We utilized, in that meeting structure, we utilized our early release days, our department meeting time, our department common planning time, and our faculty learning groups within our professional learning time, so that all of those meetings were working sort of at the same time on the same topic. So if you look at our evidence that we linked, the WIN and WIN/grading meeting cadence, that kind of shows how we scheduled out the meetings throughout the year, so that everyone was sort of examining the same topic at the same time. Basically, what we, the structure basically allowed us to both collect data in a timely manner, but then also examine that data and have our staff members also examine the data and share feedback on that, so that we could work toward developing recommendations for adjustments to the WIN block for next year, as well as make informed decisions about our grading practices in years 2 and 3 of that goal. So if you remember, our grading goal was a 3-year goal, and so we're looking ahead to next year and sort of what recommendations we'll make coming out of all of these meetings that we scheduled.
Kristen just teed it up nicely for me, because my goal is instruction in year 1 of 3, talking about grading practices. So this year, our focus has been on building a comprehensive understanding of grading practices across the school. We conducted a full audit of grading structures, policies, and beliefs, and we had 100% full participation from staff in those discussions and through surveys. The process has helped us identify key inconsistencies and equity concerns in our grading. Since the fall, departments have been engaging in ongoing conversations during meeting times and their collaborative time. Each department has collaborative time together during WIN block, so and during our half-day meeting times as well as their department time after school. They've been able to reflect on their practices and analyze the data, which is linked there. As a result, we've begun calibrating data, grading approaches, to improve consistency across classrooms. We've also developed both school-wide and department-specific recommendations that will guide our steps going forward into implementation in year 2. It was really important for us to have this conversation now, so that next year we're in place to make some changes, and it's not trying to build a ship while you're flying it, right? So what we had in place, we kept. What we're talking about now is for next year, so those conversations can be more thoughtful and really deeper conversations. So year 2 to come, and then we're going to move on from there.
I'm going to talk to you about our communication goal, which was to establish and implement a consistent multi-platform communication strategy that just keeps everybody connected to us and informs them in a timely manner. And with that in mind, we have streamlined how we share news by introducing bi-weekly updates and instant app alerts to keep families informed of things in a timely manner and connected to our school community. We also have a bi-weekly student newsletter with information that they need to know. To keep staff informed, we've continued with our weekly Thursday memo. It goes out every Thursday afternoon with a 100% on-time delivery rate.
And that's not shot at Craig.
And it contains important information and updates for staff. There are links to articles about teaching and learning, a weekly staff poll that asks questions from the serious, like what do you think about the new bell-to-bell cell phone ban, to are you a morning person or a night owl? So it's just fun to read the results of that every week. And to keep important information centralized and easily accessible for our staff, we created an FHS dashboard. So everything that a teacher could need is on there, from placing a work order to get something fixed, if they're looking to put together a field trip or do a grade change, whatever it is they need is in one place. And by modernizing and streamlining this communication, we have just built a more transparent and supportive culture where hopefully everybody feels informed and connected.
And our last goal is another communication goal, which was to establish a method to expand school community engagement across all athletic programs. So The app was introduced this fall to all coaches, and then during preseason meetings, that also happened before the winter and spring sports as well, to ensure consistent implementation and awareness. We also have included clubs and musical events as part of this app. So this is actually, we're talking about the Panther app. And we've put incentive structures in place to try to engage students, including opportunities to claim rewards and prizes during our win block. Some other engagement strategies that we've tried and want to expand next year include gift card giveaways at home athletic events. And, we continue to hope for expansion next year, especially in digital fundraising and the team club communication aspect of Panther app. We do have some analytics from the Snap mobile app. We have currently have had 2,326 folks download the app. And just another interesting fact, about every week we've had an average week, 208 users are engaged with the app. So to date, we haven't quite felt the impact that we had hoped that we would have from this, although we are encouraged by year one. We really would need someone to be more dedicated to the app to really take it to the next level, and we anticipate doing that next year. And I'll just close by saying, we just started this week our senior project with all of our seniors, and I had 2 seniors come up to my office today after school, very excited about the Panther app and what they had spent the day. That's going to be one of their projects for senior project, is to enhance the Panther app. So pretty exciting. Thank you.
So just as we transition to the school committee for questions, I just wanted to make a few brief remarks. First, it's been no small feat for this team, our school leaders, our department leaders, to have pulled off what they've done. When I think of the last 2 years, these leadership teams have come before you with what their plans would be for the upcoming school years, what they hope to accomplish before even setting foot in the physical spaces many of them are leading in today. And they set real worthy goals across the board that were really impactful for students. And just what they did, they followed through and they did what they said they would do. And they made a commitment to the community and to the students, first and foremost, to follow through with the plans that they needed to execute based on the decisions that we've made. And I recommended, you voted on, and some of the changes, and whether it's a new school or an existing school in our district, I think that's just been, they've never dropped their packs, as we'd say in the Marines. They just never stopped, and they haven't stopped to this day. So I'm just very proud of all of you. I want to thank you all. We have such a great representation. Mrs. Morano remarked to me during the meeting, to look into this crowd and see the entire team here practically. It's just a real show of commitment, and I personally am thankful for the work that you did. And we welcome any questions that you may have for the presentation, so thank you.
Excellent. So as we move on to the next step, we are making a bit of a change. The community is most likely going to notice this over the next few meetings, and actually introducing citizens' comments after the presentations. So I do want to take a quick moment, see if there is anyone who has any comments either in the audience here or online who would like to comment on an item that falls within the within our committee's purview. If so, please step up. Yeah, change it up on you, Steve.
Thank you, Steve Sherlock, 13 Magnolia Drive, Community Information Director, Franklin Matters, Franklin Public Radio. Some public service announcements, a couple were already mentioned, so I'll skip over those because he's already done very well on that. But caught through the radar, George's Pizza is going to be facilitating a fundraiser for the last class of the Franklin Art Academy tomorrow. So if people need some food, it's a good cause, obviously, and George's generally has been good food, period. You can make an empty bowl at the Senior Center Friday afternoon. The purchase price for that you can do online. You can find it online either on the Franklin Food Pantry page or through the Senior Center. I also have the link on Franklin Matters. The purchase price for the bowl also gives you a ticket to the Empty Bowls dinner in May. Franklin Q&A tomorrow, so if you've got any questions around what's going on, Senior Center or remote, information on franklin.news or Franklin Matters gets you to the Zoom info or show up at the Senior Center at 11 o'clock. Superintendent mentioned the Horace Mann, second and third. Also on the second, Jane's Walk is a walk starting from the TV studio, about a mile, coming back to this TV studio, looking at the neighborhood, the buildings, talking about zoning. Zoning is one thing we all need to learn more about, because if anything, from what I've understood in my watching and observing, that's the one thing truly in our control that can increase the revenue we so badly need. And finally, a little bit of humor to close off. So roses are red, violets are blue. If you have a favorite poem to read, we'd like to hear from you. And that's Saturday, the 18th at 1:30 at the library. Thank you.
Anyone online? All right. Seeing none, we're going to move ahead on to discussion action items. Item A.
Okay, so I recommend approval of the district improvement plans as presented.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a motion to approve this as discussed?
Motion to approved as discussed.
Is there a second? Second. All right. Any discussions or questions?
First of all, thank you very much for the presentation. So we're able to get a lot of insights from all different schools. One suggestion I have is, like, we have a lot of evidence reported, and most of the links are not working, so we might have to check that. And the second thing is the metrics around the evidences. It's at very high level. It's at 80%, 85%. So if you can put some number to it, like, hey, this is what the benefit for the students, and or this is what the savings that we did, that would be really helpful for the community to understand. That is one thing. And I have few questions regarding the presentations. Let me start with the high school.
So, Steve, just to clarify, right now we're just talking about the district. The very next one will be for all the schools, specifically.
Yeah, sure. Then it should be fine for me.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you. Ruth-Ann?
I just can't, I'm so impressed with you all too, because I feel the same way you feel. Like, I sit here and I have like a sense of pride. I'm only on the school committee, I'm not running the district. But part of the redistricting, just to look out in the audience and see the team that we have leading our schools right now is so dynamite. It's like, I'm just so proud to be here and have you all here. So, the only thing that I was going to ask was just with Jonna, with what you've done with the budgeting, from zero-based budgeting for the entire district in 1 year, or maybe over 2 years, and putting the system in place. Can you talk a little bit, just so everyone hears, about what it actually took to create that system? I know you've mentioned it before, but just kind of like what you did for the district here.
Sure. I'll probably sell myself short. But with the reorganization, it was an opportunity for us to create a whole new chart of accounts. So that's how we started. We created an entire new chart of accounts for all cost centers, meaning all departments and all schools. From there, we built up new budget workbooks, and they all aligned, so they're all consistent. The teaching and learning department had the same workbook as the student services. The only difference were the accounts. The same for the school level. This all started during the summer. From there, we met with each cost center leader, which are department directors and school principals. So we went into the buildings, we met with the principals at the school level, went through line by line, and it started from zero. We did the same for department heads, department directors, all the other departments. I guess that's it. We held, like I said, I'm probably gonna sell myself short, but we held several meetings with each department. We met 3-4 times at the same department with the same school principal, just to go over and make sure that they understood what was expected and they knew what to do. Anything to add, Mr. Jagir?
I think you summarized it well. I think the process piece too, I think it's the workbooks, it's all the background kind of documentation, but it's also the process that we engaged in, and she mapped out a calendar of meeting times and worked backwards to what was actually also at that same time. We moved up our normal budget process at the same time she was building new budget books. So we typically have done this later, like in May, and many of the admin have been around long enough to remember. We moved it up to late January, which for the right reasons, but that was happening at the same time the new system was being built. So I think it was a huge effort. So I give a lot of credit to Ms. Pilati for following through and making that happen.
Thank you.
Thank you. I just wanted to kind of just discuss all that because it's such a remarkable thing that we've had to do from the ground up. So, yeah, and then I have questions about the schools.
Reese?
Yeah, I feel like my questions have been answered by the presentations and answers to my colleagues. So I'll just add my own note. Thank you for the work you did putting this together on both the school and district side. Wonderfully presented and a lot of excellent evidence. So thank you very much for the time spent putting it in.
My comment's going to be consistent between this and the school side, that you're making it very easy for us to hold you accountable. This document alone and all of the efforts put into all the behind-the-scenes work, I'm sorry, not the school side, but the clarity and the delivery and the transparency and the communication is just, this has not been an easy effort, and it just shows the intention and with the delivery of truly making this restructuring, a success, and the commitment that was involved. So, thank you.
No.
Yep. So definitely agree with everything that's going on right now. Can definitely see the effort that was been put into this. So thank you for the time and energy. So I do have a couple questions for the district. So for goal 3, talked about one of the evidence of outcomes is like the walk through. I can't speak. Walk through trends and feedback. Can you speak to like some of like what was observed?
Sure, absolutely. And I'm glad you asked this question because I think I noted that about 120 classrooms have been visited, but I just looked at our tally. We're at 192 classrooms across the district, which is, we're not done.
No, we're not.
So we'll be over 200. So you're asking specifically for what trends. So what's been really great is to see, I'll highlight a couple things. So if you think about the investment that you all made in the illustrative math curriculum, K-5, we have found kind of consistent evidence of using that curriculum with integrity, and I use integrity very specifically as a word rather than fidelity, because there's always that opportunity to make adjustments and universally design instruction in the classroom for the needs of the students that are in front of them. So we saw consistent practices across classrooms, and if you think about where we are in that roadmap of implementation, we would expect to and want to see that, and I think you've seen some results in MCAS data as well, as we've had kind of a longer runway of implementation for illustrative math. Then if you think about, I'm going to use HMH now at the elementary level for literacy, we're now in year 2 of implementation, really, because we had a year 0, a year 1. And so we're working then to refine, and from those walkthroughs, we had a PD day that each of the elementary principals behind us hosted to gather feedback from educators that are implementing the curriculum, because we have an opportunity to get us to a place where we have a bit more integrity in how the curriculum is being used in the classroom, and so really articulating what does that look like as we launch into the next year. So those are just kind of 2 examples that I point to.
Thank you. And then for the Office of Student Services, goal 2, one of the evidences of outcomes was to increase the number of students attending inclusion classes. Do you know how many Let me speak to that.
I'm looking at Mr. Duquette because he's done most of
Do you have a number?
Yeah, we don't
No.
have a number per se, right?
No, but obviously that's our first go-to is to have students in the general education environment. We want them in their least restrictive environment, like I keep saying. You know, I guess the way to do that would have to be calculating all minutes from service delivery grids, which if we could do that. But across the hundreds of kids, you know, I think the educators are really doing a great job to meet kids' needs in the classroom, and so I would say that, you know, with Fidelity, we are doing that, and obviously always looking to increase the numbers.
Okay, great, thank you. And I think both of these things we hear in the past where there's a lot of administrative in the district, which is not the case. I mean, you all are doing 3 people's worth of work for what you're doing now and trying to fit it in and be successful for our students. And I think folks need to understand that the teachers that are in front of the students need you here to support them so that they're not having to do this and juggle both managing somebody in front of them and then also doing all the things behind the scenes. So you all should be proud and our families should be thankful for all of you, even though they may not necessarily work with you all directly day to day or your kids work with you directly, you're providing the value that our district needs. So thank you.
Yeah, this entire document itself and all the work that went into this is absolutely fantastic, and I encourage everybody, you know, at home to also, you know, to kind of go and take a look at it as well. Because, yes, Al, you know, as you mentioned, this a lot of times folks will kind of say, you know, like, well, what exactly, why do we have this position? Why do we have this admin? You know, back in my day, here's how I remember what school was like. And, you know, this document, this under like 90 minutes, like less than a Disney movie presentation, was absolutely fantastic and a great representation of what school looks like in 2026. And so as we're kind of moving on to budget, to kind of be able to say, you know, well, this is why we're spending this money. This is why this 2.5% increase, here's where the tax dollars are going to, and here's why it looks a little bit different than when you went to school. This entire thing is absolutely fantastic, and Ruth Ann, thanks for making Jana expound on that, because when you came up to the mic and you're like, I only had one goal, and your one goal was to completely revolutionize how the budget process works. This was terrific. Thank you all so much for the hard work.
72 minutes, Dave.
Keeping track, huh? So actually, my one question is for operations, looking at the communication strategy there. You know, I think there's a great objective with providing clear and accurate kind of outreach and an understanding. But Colin, I don't know if you could speak to kind of the plans to go beyond just being available, having all the information there, and really kind of reaching out to the community more proactively to try and let them know what kind of resources we have and what they, basically, you've got the forms, you have all the sheets, you can just show it to folks, but how can we make sure that everyone really knows what we offer and kind of where are we on that?
So we're looking at different strategies for outreach and different ways to gather feedback. Like we have our Thrill Share that can push out data. I think we're still analyzing the best way to kind of like receive it back. So like I mentioned the building use survey that we did for the building use users that we have. But I think like looking at like the broader sense, we're still trying to gather the best ways of getting feedback. So there are some tools in the different parts of like the operations department that have like ways that we can implement like technologies to do that. So we're trying to look at the best way to roll those out once we have all the processes, policies, updated and ready to go.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right.
Sure, please.
Sorry, I was looking at my notes and I thought it's part of the SIP.
Oh, there we go.
The question is about the human resources department. So the goal is more focused on the hiring. So is there any other activity or any other goals that you have for human resources department? Like, for example, performance reviews and those things.
So the question was about other goals that we're focused on in the
I
department?
see it's more on the hiring side. So I'm just trying to see, is there anything else the HR team is responsible for in terms of performance reviews and things like that?
I would say that we've focused the last couple of years also on the different parts of the hiring process. So for instance, even 3 years ago, we didn't have really any technology we were using in terms of receiving requests to post for positions or recommendation for hiring. So we introduced Google Forms to help us with that process, which is part of what's included in the hiring document. So for example, if a principal needs to request a job posting, they use the Google form, which then goes to various people at central office for various stages of approval. And then on the other end of the process, when a principal wants to recommend someone for hire, we have a similar form where they submit all the information on the candidate. And that information also, again, goes to various folks at central office for approval. And then from there, we contact the candidate and begin the onboarding process. So we've looked for small ways to increase the productivity and give tools to the hiring administrators. But it's really also been kind of a variety of small things. We also this year have, actually it's been a 2-year process to digitize all of our personnel files, which has been a huge undertaking. We had a whole room dedicated to storing personnel files, and so we are probably about 75% through the process of digitizing them and uploading them into our Munis software so that all those can be housed electronically. So those are a couple of the other projects we've been working on.
Can I add to that too, Ken?
Sure.
I think the HR department could have had multiple goals too. When I think about, we negotiated with our largest union, which was the teachers last year. This year, we're negotiating with 4 other unions currently that's underway, and the organization of those negotiations and the preparation that goes is one area. Also, we talked about the hiring and onboarding, but also we've been, as you know, over the past 2 years with the budget constraints and some of the issues that we've had to manage the reduction of force and the amount of time that's taken with our HR department to, on the flip side of hiring great people, we also have been in the position due to those reasons that have been well documented, have to let people go, and that goes through the HR department as well. Consultation with leadership around our employees and their progress and recommendations to retain staff or move on from staff or all other areas that I can just mention, just thinking about some of the day-to-day work that happens. The other piece is leaves and different requests that come through. Some come directly to me, but ultimately there are some and many that go through Shannon and Ken, and I know that they also are heavily involved in the processing of that from a personnel standpoint as well. So just to add to the other pieces, those could have been their own goals, negotiations alone, but certainly I think Ken was focusing on one area that was more tangible in the sense of updating a new processes that we definitely needed within the district.
Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome. All right, so seeing no further discussion, the vote will come to the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay. I recommend approval of the school improvement plans as detailed and presented.
Motion to approve school improvement plans as detailed.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, motion and a second. Discussion, questions? This time we'll start down with Reese.
Yes, I have one question. I'm going to direct it to the K2 teams, although it could go to many people. But you were the first to bring it up. Could you please just elaborate on the role of the school councils that were established, how those bodies are composed, and how their role, the school councils, and how they differentiate from the PCC?
It's all good. We're coming together because we're a K-5 team.
Yes, Stephanie, if you want to go up too, you can go up. Yeah.
You can also, we have the standing mics, we can just have that.
Yeah.
I think in reaching out to our community, I think school council, as chartered by DESE, has certain action items connected to that work. And I think as we got involved, we realized too the conversations that we wanted to have were really about our school-wide community K-5. And I think we've communicated and we've had conversations with our PCC chairs as well, invited them to our school council meetings remotely. We had one this evening, in terms of how we can partner together on some of this work. And I think the fundraising from our families, the events that we bring into our schools for our kids, and the PCC work with drawing families in, coupled with the piece that's more around the school improvement plan, which connects to school council as well. So it's how do we get those two groups to work together? And when we look at school council too, we're really thinking about hearing from families in terms of what it is that they want and how they want to connect and how we can make that happen. But it's a broader group. I feel like there'll be more outreach. So it doesn't stay like isolated to that group. So I do see the work partnering.
I think you said most of it. We've been doing ours K to 5, and that's, it was a great question, because I think that's what we've been trying. That's what we've been trying to do too, is we're trying to bring people together. We want to create a community, and it's difficult to do. It takes time. And then PCCs has a social function as well, and so we want to do that together and bring those groups together and think about how we can offer more opportunities.
And I don't know if I heard you correctly, but in terms of, did you ask about how that group is formed?
Yes, please.
Yes. So there are very specific kind of guidelines and rules right around that. So it is a volunteer position, just like PCCs are. But if they're, one of the guidelines is around establishing parity. So the same number of staff around the table, that is matched with parity with family members. There's a community representative. And if we have more than kind of the number of volunteers needed for that term, then we host an election that's overseen by our PCC. So I know we do it.
And there's a statement that's shared in terms of interest.
Right. So I know how we do that is through like a Google form, parents sort of share, family members share a bit of their background, and then there is a vote on that. And typically there's no established terms as part of those rules, but typically they're 1 to 2 year terms, if you will.
And just so you know, for us, we let anybody that expressed interest through our outreach, we said come. Just because it was year 1 and we wanted to make sure we made everybody feel like they could come and share. So we didn't do elections this year, but it is a part of a process that we will probably end up using later.
Yeah, there are published, if you look up Massachusetts School Council guidelines, you can find those. And the last thing I think I'll add is they are, public open meetings. So those agendas are published, and it's an open meeting that anybody's welcome to attend.
Fantastic. Thank you for the information. I have just one follow-up. Come next school year, where should interested parties be keeping an eye out if they would like to join?
Just
newsletters.
Newsletters, our communication.
Newsletters.
It'll go out there and it'll be in there for a couple months.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much for the answer. That's all my questions. Thank you.
Awesome. Nadia?
Hold on 1 second. I didn't have any questions, but now I do. It's a quick one. I just want to know how big the student is.
Gosh, Evan, you might have to chip in on this. We are K through 5 as well. 12 people. 12 to 14 people. And again, it consists of administrator, there are teacher representatives, family members, and then a community representative as well.
And we're about the same at 14.
In my comment, you can stay there as well if you'd like. It has to do with this. The connection between the elementary schools across the district and like the partnering is you all came up here.
Hold on, wait.
He's here. We've all just come up here. Go on.
Everyone's in spirit. But just the unity. I mean, this is an undertaking, and you're making a solid effort to align on so many levels, and it is, the PCCs do a lot of work, and the fact that they're working hand in hand with you, that's how things get done, and that's how traditions are rebuilt. And they're two separate schools, and they'll form their own personalities and traditions. But at the core, you're all aligning. And so it's been great to see. And I know that was a question for many. So you're really demonstrating that here. The pieces that I appreciated the most were the surveys, the feedback, the constant check-ins. You know, you really are taking everybody along the process with you. You're not just making decisions, you're doing a ton of work to get to those decisions, and everybody is seeing it happen in action. So that really stuck out to me as we went through the whole document. And I mean, this document's overwhelming. You know, when I opened it up and saw all of the spring progress additions, I was overwhelmed. And you're the ones doing all the work. So thank you for all of the presentations. And I have to highlight, Craig, I noticed today when the need to know page went up late, but it's but in a good way, because you have been so consistent. And I was getting ready to do my joint PC, announcements tonight. I said, wait a minute, I don't have all the middle school information. But it's just a testament to the consistency in the communications and all the different forms of communication as well. You know, it's not just one newsletter that's going out. There's applications being made. There's website updates, and just there's so many forms to try to keep people informed. And that's just, again, the transparency. And I appreciate it. I'm sure every parent appreciates it. Sometimes it's overwhelming, the amount of information we get in, but it's a balance. And it's always better to know more than to not know enough, right? So thank you all. Appreciate it.
So once again, thank you for all that you do. I think the way this year is going, I think it's easy for people to lose sight that we have gone through redistricting. I mean, the way going into it, people thought doom and gloom, it's the worst thing, it's going to be horrible, and you all are being successful at leading your teams and your people and helping the students be successful. So one, thank you for that. But it's also, you also are changing and adjusting, as my colleague has mentioned. You're forming new teams, you're forming new folks that report to you, and really having to manage that and deal with it on the fly. So not an easy task to keep everything composed as you all are doing. So once again, third time, thank you. One thing that I heard many of you had in your goals where you have surveys to get feedback. What was something that surprised you in those surveys that you didn't expect?
Al has great wait time. So.
No.
I was about to say, I feel like none of you are making eye contact, Al.
Actually, it's not, I guess it's difficult. Like, there were certain things that we had to do in isolation over the summer. Once all the pieces had fallen, like building schedules and, academic schedules, and then what our CPT schedule would look like and such. And it was done in isolation. So we fully expected to receive information from staff about, we'd love to be able to be part of that reflection and help to build operating schedules for next year. And so that was something that we knew while we were doing it. It's not fun to do in isolation. But so we expected that, right? Which does not answer your question. But there were other examples of that where we knew that there were things that we wanted to do, like a lot of our goals had to do with community building, right? And if I teach on the first floor or the second floor, and I don't have many opportunities to just go down and see my new colleagues often, then that might come out in the survey, and it did, right? Like, I don't know everyone yet, and that might be something that takes years, right? But we see examples already throughout the year. We did these ST March Mathness competitions. And at our school, the winner was a third grade teacher, and the second place was a fourth grade teacher, former Parmenter, former Oak, had never spoken to each other ever, and they got together to celebrate with their classes, right? So there's definitely an ownership of getting out there, stopping by someone's door to say hi and introduce yourself, and then we take it very seriously to find those opportunities all year, and next year, and the year after that, to allow for people to come together, to get to know one another. So that was something that came out of it as well.
I think I do want to say, as I'm sitting here, I really am stumped about something that was surprising. But also, as I reflect, I think that's a positive, which means that, that day-to-day communication is happening, that if there is a question or concern, that teachers are coming in, that we're in classrooms. So I think it's probably a positive that none of us really jumped at like, wow, we were really thrown a curveball. I think by and large, I don't think we were especially surprised. I think it was consistent with what we're like feeling and seeing and hearing and talking about on a daily basis, which I think is a positive.
Yep, great. Cool. Thank you.
Again, thank you very much for the presentation. So I just have the same comment here about the metrics. So it's at a very high level, so it will be helpful if you can put some numbers to it. And the second thing is, it will also be great if you can add the opportunities based on the evaluation that you did, the evidence that we arrive at. If we can add the opportunities, that will be helpful to understand what is our next set of action items that we have in terms of completing these goals. That would be one takeaway for you maybe. And the specific questions I had on the student council, and the same question was answered. Most of my questions were answered. The other thing is in the grading system for high school. I see a policy on the grading system on the high school, but I'm an high school parent, so there are differences in the grading. That's what I see with respect to teachers. So is it something commonly followed, or is it based on the teacher's discretion?
I'll pop up. That's one of the reasons why this is such a strong focus for us. Is year one, we're gathering the data and the information to sort of assess everyone's grading policies across the departments, and we really want to create an equitable experience for students. And so what we've uncovered is, while the practices are grounded in good research and good practice within the departments, we need to be more consistent across the departments. So this year, from the survey, we were able to identify in some of the data 4 key areas that they're actively working on right now to streamline within the departments, and that is their gradebook structure, a homework policy, a retake policy, and a late work policy, so that those can be consistent across departments. And from that, we're really having great conversations. We're a building that's like deeply rooted in tradition, but really can embrace innovation too. So we're really trying to identify the needs of our current profile of a learner and adapt our gradebook strategies and instructional practices to meet the needs of students and help them achieve greatness. And so those are the things that we've identified for this year to get into place, so we can start next year off more calibrated, and then we're just going to continue from there.
Yeah. The reason I brought it was same subject, different teachers. For a late submission, one is giving 75%, other one is giving 50%. So that's why I had that question on how these policies have been circulated to the teachers so that they all adhere to the same policy. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
The other question I had on the app, the count that you gave me was amazing. The count was good. Is there a push notification as well for this app?
So we have 2 apps. We have the ThrillShare app, which does have a push notification, and the Panther app has a push notification as well.
All right.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I think we can use it for during our the notification times.
Yeah.
The snow.
We'll let our senior project students know to
All right. Yeah.
turn that thing on. Okay, definitely.
Perfect. That will be helpful. Yeah.
And just to answer your question, regarding recommendations based on outcomes. This team will come together for the pre-treat, which is how we debrief the year. So we're not at the end of the year yet, but we will. And then that's when we take a moment to kind of unpack, look back on our goals, reflect on the year, and then start to just lay out some frameworks of what we hope to achieve as we move into the next year. Then we go off into the summer, individualized work happens, and then we come together for an administrative retreat in August, early August, to really come back to that, and then that's how we start the new cycle of goal setting. So that process takes place as we move forward from this moment.
Thank you.
Yep.
I don't have much. I just want to, it's not surprising that you've all been in Franklin for a while, and to the credit of our district leaders, you're all experienced pros. So it doesn't surprise me that you weren't surprised by the feedback too much. Assuming you all got into this industry because you love teaching, your cup is filled by your students, I just want to acknowledge and commend you all. It seems like throughout this presentation, there was a lot of focus on your educators in the building. And I often wonder about public school systems for this reason, because I think that, and I was talking to Paul about this, it's tough because you don't get into this to manage adults. So, yeah, you're all administrators, and I know there's a lot of people who could be administrators that don't choose to go into this role. So just a little bit of kudos that I recognize that that you're doing good keeping also your staff in the loop. And you're not just building cultures for the students and the families, you're building cultures for your educators too. So feels like you all really care about that, and that's a big goal. So I appreciate that from you all. The one thing I want you to keep in mind, and I'm not going to put you on the spot, but kind of like Craig's amazing newsletter, I think that everybody needs to keep in mind we're going to need another override. We're going to do this whole crazy exercise again of like the tale of four budgets that Lucas had to do and all the chaos. So, you know, you had a really great paper. When we went on the tour of the schools, you know, some people had prepared some memos for us like, gosh, you know, this is what we need, this is what we wish for and whatnot. So I kind of feel like that's something to keep in mind, because I don't want to, we did zero-based budgeting. We know that many of those costs are fixed, and we're not really working with much in the form of expenses. So I think that as we enter the budget season, I think that we're not calling on you all to do this exercise, but I think that the other elected bodies or appointed bodies, the finance committee and the town council, are going to want to see, like I've heard a few times during the FinCom hearings, what is something that you would love to have in your department and things. And I'm watching other departments kind of do this exercise already, and I know this is, I know you all know what you would love to have, so I kind of just, what you need versus what you want versus what would be excellent to have. And I think that, you know, just kind of keep that in mind as you guys go forward, because I know there's a lot that you don't have. But I won't put you on the spot to talk about that, because this is a bit of a celebration of what you've accomplished. So I'm done. Thanks.
Reese, did you have one more thing? I did. Thank you, Chair. Actually, I had another question for the middle schools. During your presentation, you had mentioned that the counseling department is larger now, and I was wondering if you could just elaborate a little more on the challenges, successes, what it's been like to operate with that counseling department, and what you see as needs and goals going forward. Middle school counseling is just something that looms large in my mind when it comes to schools. So yeah, if you can just share a little bit more about that. Thank you.
So in particular, just in terms of the overall staffing, as Becky mentioned, there typically are three middle schools. We had worked with a model that was about, let's say, two and a half. And now we have an opportunity to have, we currently have 2.5 in the basically two counselors per grade level, as well as a specialized counselor, and then 2 school psychologists. I think what we're working at and really aiming to build
is they've been so excited to have a true department working together and being able to bounce ideas off each other, do case studies together, and really build their own. It's been described to me as just constant PD and professional development that they've been learning from each other. I think where we're all navigating and want to support is how do we take the full scope of right now, because of some of the intensive mental health needs that we know are in existence in the middle level, where they're very often in that tier 3 realm and having to spend a amount of time where they could have one student that, because of that student's need, takes the entire day. And they therefore have to put on the back burner some of the work in which that's tier 1 overall social, emotional, mental health development for our students, as well as tier 2, which is some of the more routine groups that when those things are strong, you might be able to prevent some of that, the tier 3 instances that occur. So I think that's where we're really looking to help support our counselors in acknowledgement that it's not like they're sitting in their office twirling their thumbs. They're busy at all times. But how can we support it so that there's an opportunity for more of a system so that every student gets what they need in the variety of needs.
And I can add that the rules of responsibilities conversations have been really meaningful when you have a larger department, when you have people that are coming in with different interests as well as different areas of expertise, even from that same department. We've been able to have some really good conversations, professional development within the department, like Craig said, but then also deciding what those roles are going to look like. So for example, going from year 1 into year 2, the decision was, are counselors going to loop or are they going to specialize at a grade level? And one of the decisions that we've made for now is to have them really stay within that grade level. That's something that the counselors wanted, and I think as a school foundation that lays the opportunity for those counselors to really become experts in that grade level and what students are experiencing, what teachers are experiencing, and how to support those students from a social emotional standpoint to access their school day. So that's something that we are able to do as a larger department, as a larger school. That's a real great opportunity, but something that came with a lot of thought because there's different ways that you can do it. And so this first year was an important one for us to go through.
Thank you so much for the thorough response. And I want to highlight and give appreciation for how you detailed how the counseling team, it can be very critical in helping a student access that least restrictive environment, that the counseling team can be the difference between tier 2 and tier 3, and it's clear it's a critical part of the education that we provide here in Franklin. So again, thank you for your response, and thank you, Chair, for sending it back to me.
Yeah, this was absolutely fantastic. And one of the first notes I kind of took down was just what a stacked team. So really, as everybody kind of kept coming up to the table over here, reminded me of like the World Baseball Classic. I had so much fun like over the summer where every single team is just the all-stars from all their other respective teams. It is such an amazing group that we have here in Franklin, educating our kiddos, keeping everybody safe and learning every single day. And I thank you so much for all of the work that every single one of you in this room and everybody on Zoom and everybody here in the district is doing to make that happen. And as Superintendent Jagir mentioned, this is coming off of that massive reorganization as well, and yet all the goals were fantastic, ambitious as well. And I loved some of the ones that kind of kept coming up across all the different schools was about like engagement. And I love that the focus was on the percentage of families that we're going to engage with or that have kind of engaged with us. It's not, I've seen other ones before in other businesses and in areas where they'll kind of go and say, all right, our level of success is going to be the number of events that we host, the number of newsletters that we send out. And it's great, and you can kind of go and you can do that, but if you're hosting a dozen events and you have only a dozen people showing up at each one of those, it's not a success. And so instead, you know, the twist that every single one of you kind of went and looked at was that harder, you know, criteria. To say, we're going to do this, but we're really going to do it well, and we're going to be successful, not based on how many events that we put on, you know, how many times that we try to reach out to the public, but how many times the public connects with that. And that is challenging and fantastic with what you've done. So thank you so much. I got one for Lincoln 3-5. This was a future voter had asked me, Pod A and Pod B, is there any possibility of those guys coming together at any point in time?
Yes.
Yes? All right. Fantastic. Thank you. Maybe I can parlay that into that future voter cleaning his bedroom. And here's another maybe easy one anybody can answer. How many schools do we have in Franklin?
Well, we've reorged 7.
And that's my count as well, and I know, and
That's the hardest question I've done all year.
Superintendent eval is coming up pretty soon. And I love, you know, Nadia, as you mentioned, when you guys all kind of came around, the alignment that you had, the way that everybody kind of presented, but I think that focus, because I know sometimes, especially with this reorg, that was one of the conversations. Exactly how many schools do we have? Is it, you know, is Lincoln K-2 and Lincoln 3-5 really just Lincoln? But it's so evident, obviously that's just not the case. It's different schools, you have different names, whatever, you know, necessarily is, but the structure of why it is 7 different unique schools, yet you still all are working together, collaborating. But again, this document, for any folks out there that do kind of have any questions about how this all kind of came to be and all the different schools that we do have and why there are 7 schools, it's all right here and in so many other great presentations. But again, everyone's working so well together, but at the same time, still building their own communities. I know Principal Chelman, you kind of talked about like the Prowl, you know, and their core values. And I know every other school is having their core values and what's meaningful for them. And it's not an easy task, but you guys have all stepped up to the challenge, and I applaud you so much. Thank you guys.
Yeah, it won't take long. You know, I really appreciate the efforts went through, and also, you know, I know there was a big focus on being able to get a lot of information, really condensing it down. The links that were provided, I think, are going to be great, especially as the community digs in, and definitely a lot of gold stars around for folks being able to keep it to within a certain time frame. Out, you know, for y'all committee members, I don't think we're getting any, but really keeping, you know, being able to summarize it. One of the most important things that I know and I have seen in the professional community is when you're confident in what you do, when you know what you've produced and you know what you actually have to provide, you don't have to go on forever. You have your couple of key points, you hit them, you go home. So really appreciate you all presenting those, highlighting that for the community. Encourage everyone watching to actually click through and look at all these different pieces of evidence that everyone's put forward. It was a relatively brief night. It's only 9:15 at the moment. We're doing pretty well. But there is hours upon hours of discussion and information tucked into all this document. So definitely encourage folks to go look at it and appreciate all those efforts that the team, both the schools and the district went through to get us to this point. So thank you. All right. So seeing no further discussion, vote will come on the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, so for everyone who has an early morning tomorrow, if you want to hang around, we've got about 2 or 3 more hours. If not, this is the best time to head out. Thank you all. Thank you very much.
Take a picture of this. Take a picture of this.
Everybody.
Thank you.
Can you save us a seat at the shed?
I think a lot of them will go to bed.
Yeah, I know, I'm just joking.
See you. Okay, I figured someone was gonna stay. Like, no one's that interested, so it hurts.
There you go. We got Steve.
That's Steve.
Okay.
Steve's diehard.
All right, so as we move on, we're going to move into two votes next. One is for school choice and one is for foreign exchange students. I will tee up and then I'll make my recommendation and then I'll do that consistently for both. So the vote before you is for school choice. I'll talk about my recommendation, but after a careful review of the relevant financial and programmatic and operational factors, including the tuition to cost gap that comes with our the school choice model, the absence of an applicant screening mechanism for school choice, and then looking at our recent pre-K through 8 reorganization primarily as the driving factor, we really need to focus on our enrollment stability and what we've been managing in Franklin. I'm going to be recommending that the committee not vote to accept school choice students at this juncture in time. I've provided you with some data on districts that participate or that don't participate in the program. Our numbers over the last, I don't know how long it goes back, I think we went back to 2003 with some data for you to just review. And ultimately, I feel as though, given the priority of the needs of our students in Franklin right now, introducing the opportunity for additional students to join us or for Franklin students to seek other public schools within the state through this program. I don't believe we're at the point where that's a wise decision for us as a school district. So I recommend not to accept school choice students for the 26-27 school year as discussed.
So moved.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
All right, motion and a second. Discussion? Stevie?
So I'm just trying to understand this. So this is about sending our children to outside or as well as
Both
receiving?
directions.
Both directions.
But it works, once you commit to that partnership, it does work, great question. It works in both directions. So you join a program where you are allowing as a district to accept students, and it would be, typically districts do it by looking at their class sizes and averages and saying we can add 4 in this grade, 3 in this grade, whatever the recommendation would be to the school committee. School committee has the final authority to approve that. And at the same time, the students that are within your district become eligible to seek and apply to attend other schools that are that take part in the program. So I provided in your documents a list of districts that participate and don't. So I think, if I'm being candid and I look at the communities that are listed as participating and not, I feel as though typically when I think of the cohort where Franklin fits, we're more aligned with many of the ones that are not participating currently. And I think in our specific context in Franklin, as I mentioned, just the amount of shifts and planning and the work that we just heard for the last 2 hours around the work has really been about prioritizing culture and community within the town. And I feel as though we're at a juncture where I wouldn't recommend. So that's a good question.
And this is only for the general, not for the special eds?
No, it includes any student you accept if they are in special education or any other, they have other services that they require. The district, if you accept them, you are required to educate students based on what those needs are within the district.
All right, thank you.
Ruthann?
No questions at this time.
Reese?
No questions. Thank you for the information you provided.
Nadia?
No questions?
No?
No questions? Dave?
None on my end. Appreciate the additional documentation. Anyone in the community has questions on it, please feel free to reach out. So seeing no further discussion, vote will come in the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Sorry,
Motion-
point of clarification, Chair. We are voting to agree with the superintendent's
We are,
recommendations?
that it is not.
I apologize. I am also an aye.
Okay. Motion carries.
Great, thank you. Next in your packet is a recommendation for foreign exchange programming. Just to provide some historical context, the foreign exchange policy exists, it's JFABB. It was a new policy that we adopted in 2024, and it came from when MASC, which is our governing body for school committees, had put a full recommendation of multiple policies that they were suggesting and recommending that districts incorporate into their own book. So we did that in 2024 as part of that, and we adopted it. But once again, given the context of really from April of 2024 to now, including the major reorganization within our district, our budget constraints and how we've been managing to optimize the services and the resources we have within a district for the students in front of us that reside in Franklin. We just don't have the systems in place, the expectations, staffing structures, or other supporting pieces in place to implement a foreign exchange type program where we haven't, our focus has been really on getting our own systems up and running for students who live in town. We don't have the foreign exchange pieces in place. So for that reasons that I've outlined, I'm recommending that the school committee vote not to participate in the foreign exchange programs for the 2026-27 school year.
All right. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right. Motion second. Discussion. Reese?
No questions.
Nadia?
Have we ever had a foreign exchange program?
I do not believe we have. The policy is new. I don't know in practice. I'd have to go back because it wouldn't have been a formalized thing. But I cannot remember in my time, and I've been here since 2004, where we've had a foreign exchange program. And I can't even think of a student that would qualify that I can remember. And I'm sure someone watching will let me know. And if I do hear otherwise, if I'm corrected, I'll be sure to let the school committee know that answer. But I don't have any evidence that we have.
Have we ever had inquiries about it?
Yes. It's come up periodically. Same with school choice. Every once in a while, Denise Miller will take a phone call from someone who lives in another town to just ask if we participate. That's pretty common practice for folks if they don't check the website on DESE. They'll call directly to just ask because they have specific districts in mind. But I can say that people have inquired in the past. You know, we've engaged, Dr. Weber and I are in the process of looking at not necessarily foreign exchange program, but similar to EF Tours, they have exchange opportunities where it's a week for students to do some exchanging, go to one country and change. So we're exploring those opportunities on more of a confined, kind of like an international trip, except you're hosting. But we have more work to do to make sure that that's really buttoned up pretty tightly on that, so that's as far as we've engaged.
Yeah, I think I understand, we all understand the situation. I think it is something just to keep on the radar for maybe a someday.
And these are annual votes that come before the school committee, so we do them around this time every year.
Thank you.
And just to clarify, if something were to come up, they can always be brought to us for a specific situation, so it can be flexible. Al?
Nope, no questions.
Steve?
So, quick question on that. Do you know how much the budget costs for this? And the reason I'm asking is there a way we can get this? Because it's a very good initiative. Students will definitely get benefit. I've seen Wellesley and other districts doing this and going outside the country and learning the different cultures and learning different the aspects of education, right? So I'm just trying to understand, is there a way any other grant will help us or any other optimization that can bring us, at least not for everyone, at least for a few hand-picked students can be leveraged? Right?
So we are investigating the opportunity for foreign exchange through an EF Tours type program where, you know how we do like the international trips that you approve?
Yeah.
Having the ability to have a group of students in our languages, for example, paired up through a company like EF that does this and pair you with students in France. And then the department, the World Language Department from Franklin High has actually approached us with this. So we're in the back end of this right now, vetting the kind of security and the safety and all the pieces that go with it. But for this example, they have different school vacation weeks. So during our April break or February break, the concept is students would go to a host country, say it's France, spend the week there, do the trips, do similar to EF Tours, but you're kind of immersed in an environment with a fellow student that you've gotten to know throughout the year through pen pal type work. And then ultimately their vacation week is different and it's during one of our school weeks. So we're exploring that as an opportunity, but the separate of that, just having a host family host a student from another country, we have the recommendations there to say that would be similar to introducing and adding students to our enrollment that we don't have a mechanism to support if they're from another country and there's languages and there's a barrier there where we don't have the mechanisms in place to support that at this current juncture. So that's kind of the idea, but I think I see the value in opportunities for kids to immerse themselves in environments, and I think that's why we've really emphasized the opportunities for trips, but we don't have a program that's established right now.
I think this foreign exchange program is not for a week, I believe. It's more than months, I mean, a couple of months.
This is for hosting, like a family hosts a student from
Yeah,
months at one
exactly.
time. Yes.
Yeah, right.
I was just mentioning, in lieu of that, not in this policy, is that opportunity to look at a trip where there's an exchange that way, but it's not the policy to what you're mentioning now.
Yeah, like Nadia mentioned, right, so we keep it in our radar and then
Yes.
see if there is a possibility in upcoming years, we should definitely try to implement this.
I think every year we can open up the discussion with the committee and discuss it. What I would say is I would just want to make sure that we have the systems in place to support the work that's happening, is all, just for everyone's benefit.
Thank you.
Okay.
No questions at this time.
None for me. So seeing no further discussion, vote will come on the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay.
Next before you is a single vote for multiple new revolving accounts. You'll notice in there, the new revolving accounts include the Horace Mann Legacy Project, which we've talked about at the beginning of the meeting and in other meetings, the Franklin Performing Arts Projects account, the FHS State Championship Signage account, and the Little Solutions account. So each of these programs, we've listed and put a bit of a description, but just for public interest and just to understand what these mean. The Horace Mann Legacy is set up to collect and receive donations. Research grants collected in this account will support the range of activities around public awareness for Horace Mann's contributions, student-centered programming, campus design enhancement and storytelling, and then funding community engagements. So in order for the school district to receive money for this specific reason, just tying it back to the revolving conversations that are happening, this would be to collect for the Horace Mann work, and it would only be used for that purpose. And it would be through donation. So that's one example. Similarly, you'll notice the Franklin Performing Arts is a donation account to collect donations collected by the Franklin Music and Theater Boosters, and ultimately it's in order to fund some of the performing arts projects that are occurring at the middle and high school level. The State Championship Signage, another account where we can legally receive donations that are deposited to pay for an upcoming project around state championship signage in an effort to create some consistency in celebrating our state-sanctioned team championships that we have been fortunate in Franklin to see our students earn with their coaches, to have something on school grounds at Franklin High School to represent the collective group. Right now, on state property, it's limited to only a few sports in a few seasons, so we're looking to create something more broad that would do that. So that would allow a mechanism for it. All of these projects, the reason these accounts are being created is so that we do not have these go into a capital request or fund them through the operating budget, which you've approved already for the purposes, educational purposes, to support students in classrooms and through their activities. These are independent projects and these are creative ways, and we're fortunate because it's through community volunteerism, through each of the groups, it's through the boosters, that they are a willingness to want to see some improvement in areas that directly impact students. And finally, the Little Solutions childcare program, creating an account for the obvious reasons of the business side of that, and to run it appropriately, it needs its own account for the staff childcare. So that was a long-winded response, but I just wanted the public to understand what the purpose of these accounts was, so when you take the vote, there's just an informed group. So I recommend establishment of the new revolving accounts as discussed.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion, questions? Stephen?
Quick question on this revolving funds, right? I know if we are not using these funds, it'll go back to town, is that right?
No, these actually stay in the revolving account until they are expended for the purposes for which they were collected.
Okay.
And it needs to go to the direct benefit of students when you collect these funds, so.
It'll be carry forward.
It will be carried forward year to year for that purpose.
Thank you.
Yes, you did. Thank you. Correctly.
He was looking at me, I could have had you do it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You're there?
No, I just wanted, because of budget, it's not to be confused with the free cash that the council talks about using this year to plug the deficit. So this is totally separate. Yeah, I'm good.
Reese?
Yeah, just a brief comment along those lines with, the questions that we get about revolving accounts and the limitations that come with them. And, I want to highlight that it's not only a legal requirement, but it's really important that the money that goes to these accounts stays for the targeted thing. Because when we are going to the public or the boosters are going to the public saying, this is something we want to do, it's such an important element of trust from the public to say, I know that the money I'm giving is going toward the thing I want it to go to. So I wanted to emphasize that in this context because it came to mind as I was looking at these 4 different accounts. So anyway, that's my comment. Thank you for the time.
I just had a question about the state championship signage. Who will actually be collecting those donations?
So the booster organizations are coming together as they normally do fundraise. The collection of funding would then be, you'll see it, eventually it'll come to you in the form of your consent agenda for acceptance of a gift to be deposited in this account for that purpose. So I do know the boosters, we're meeting with a few of the booster leaders later in April. Once the policies are up and running and the accounts are set up and we have some more information about the construction of the sign and the costs, the boosters are looking to target and fundraise independently of the district because we can't fundraise for that, but this is a project that they initiated and we agree with, we share an interest in seeing, so that's a very good question. But that's how we would receive the money into that account. It would be public, it would go before you to accept it, and then, so all these accounts will start at 0 just for public. These have 0 in them after you approve them, and then they have to accrue funds in order for it to be spent, but we will not be spending any operating or taxpayer dollars on the projects that were referenced as far as the state signage, the Horace Mann legacy.
My last comment is I just want to emphasize your point about the reason why these accounts are largely being established is so that we do not need to put this money in the operating budget or as a capital request.
Mm-hmm.
So these are efforts from our boosters that are going above and beyond to get the things that they need to run because we can't afford as a district to do so. That's it.
Can I ask one more question? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just, or it went past me, but the banners that we get in the gym, that, like, for the state championships, are those issued by the entity that runs athletics? Like, do we get issued those? Yeah.
So I think as an update, we do have banners for championships that have been won that have not been hung yet.
Okay.
What the trouble is, if Dr. Weber was here, she would have jumped right up. We're advocating to get them hung. I think we have some logistical challenges with the lift, and you need to be licensed to get in the lift and to hang them. I also think the placement of our banners, we're going to be looking at. We have a meeting on Friday to walk through the gym. I know if you visit other gyms, the height, we have them very, very high because when new construction and when things got put up, and then we had specific people over time, since Franklin High has been built, that had the ability to get in the lift and do the things. As people move on and you don't have people behind them to be able to do that work. So we're working with facilities. I know Dr. Rogers has been involved as well, but I think what we want to do is we do have banners in the athletic department office that need to go up. I want to acknowledge that publicly. I share an interest in wanting that done too, and I think we need to relook at how we can do this so that there's no barrier and a time delay on that. So, but we do have those. I don't know how we get those banners, but I know that I think they come. Are they? Okay. So we can double check that for you, but I do know that the banners are league championships, state championships, whatnot, and there's a shared interest in wanting to get all of them up so that we are up to date. In addition to the sign project, which is different than that, and just having it consistent and having it done. So that's a commitment that we're making to make sure that we can try to make that happen. I might just go get my own license to get up in a crane. At this point, I'm just thinking about it. I don't, yeah.
The next thing we'll see is up on the lift.
I'm sure. See if my dad will do it. I'll see. Yeah, that's better.
Thanks for answering that, because I think it gets conflated with this issue, and I had a couple people asking me about that. They're like, don't I get those? So thanks.
I can see too, from a community perspective, they are related, because it's about signage and putting it out. So I do get it. You're correct in that they're separate projects, but yeah, I think at the same time we do this, it's in our best interest to get that squared away. Fair enough?
Okay, yeah. So what happens to the interest on these accounts? Where does that go?
So these, they do not generate interest per se. The interest that they all remain in the general fund. This is specific accounts. Only a couple of accounts can generate interest and remains with the schools. Food service is one of them, and student activities. They both generate interest, and the interest remains in those accounts. All the other revolving funds, they might accrue interest, but it goes back to the town. It remains in the general fund.
Okay, so
I am getting that information for you, by the way, Mr. Charles.
thank you, appreciate that. So just to confirm though, so these will generate interest, but it goes into the general
Yes,
account back to
yep.
the town? Okay, thank you.
Dave? Yeah, I think, thanks for the creation of all these. These are, exciting opportunities for, as we kind of move forward. And it's also something that's really kind of like, almost like that dichotomy of this community right now, where, a lot of these things are looking at like the Franklin Performing Arts. It's a need because predominantly the fiscal crisis that we've kind of been in for many years, and kind of following the last couple of failed overrides, communities that fully fund themselves, and that's from a taxpayer standpoint, don't necessarily need to have some of these revolving accounts to fund performing arts projects, because it is part of the overall operating budget. We're very lucky that we have a community where we have so many amazing individuals that are looking to kind of volunteer their time and their money to fund a lot of these great projects and these needed projects. But it is also a shame that it's even happening in the first place. Things would be a lot easier. I was listening to some of the FinCom meetings. A lot of the problems that they're trying to solve would have been wouldn't have even existed had this community, even over the last 20 years, been able to kind of reinvest within itself by increasing taxes. But thank you very much though for kind of putting it all together. I'm excited to kind of see where we're going to go from there.
All right. No questions for me. Ruth Ann covered it with the banner, so appreciate the information there. Seeing no further discussion, vote will come on the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
So we have 5 policies for your review. They were in your packet for review. I won't read through every single one, but we're certainly happy to answer any questions that you have. The first policy was around the student achievement recognition and state signage, to create a policy around the development of the signage and how we will monitor that, maintain that, and have something moving forward. The second was community use of school facilities, and then that's policy KF. And then with that, it's coupled with KF E1, E2, and E3, which hit on rules and regulations, and then specifically the facilities rental fee schedule for the high school and all other buildings as well. So with that said, I will recommend, and then we're happy to answer any specific questions. I recommend moving the following policies to a second reading as discussed. JRE, KF, KF-E1, KF-E2, and KF-E3.
So moved. It's a lot easier than repeating that.
Yep. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. Motion is seconded. Any comments or questions? Reese?
No, none, thank you.
Nadia?
Just on number 9 for the policy, there's a discrepancy in the number of, for the attendance number, that just needs to get updated. It is 150 in one area, I'm trying to find it, in number 16, and then in number 9, it says 100.
9C, okay.
Yeah.
And 16. Okay.
No questions. Stephen?
I'm good.
Ruthann?
No questions.
Dave?
Just one thing, just for the committee and everybody at home, all the KFs. Well, one, actually, so much work that was done. I know Colin kind of called out Josie earlier, but really, just this was a huge lift, and it was amazing work that was done. But then also during the policy subcommittee, when we kind of were voting on all of these, we talked about having this kind of come back in spring of '27 as well, just to kind of get presented out to the policy subcommittee, just to kind of touch base, how are we doing, where's, financially, does this make sense, is this working? So just as folks are kind of going and voting, that was also something that we kind of discussed, and so we'll come back to it, maybe even present out the full one next spring. That's it.
Awesome. So for my end, I just had a couple of points. So one of them, I just wanted to kind of call out. I know that we had gotten a couple of emails looking at the signage, and I really enjoyed the fact that there was a lot of commentary on equity in that policy. So making sure that really, as we're applying this, it's not just one program or one, athletics over arts. It really is directed towards everyone. So for those who most likely are not going to read that policy, I do want you to know that that's something that's very straightforward in our minds, again, talking to the community, is the equity across all different groups that could be recognized, that are all included under that overarching umbrella. So looking forward to being able to kind of move that forward. The other thing that I wanted to just kind of quickly touch base on is looking at the facility rental fee schedule. Understanding that, we have things broken up into, group 1, group 2, group 3. I think those make sense for the most part. The one that I'm kind of wondering about is the town departments. I don't know how often they're using the school facilities, but I think that there's kind of this sense of making sure that money is being allocated in the correct locations when things are being utilized. So I don't know if we'd want to consider scheduling or moving them to group 2 instead. Basically schools, PCC, all school departments, PCCs, and boosters. So really the school-focused groups maintain that group 1 schedule, but town departments moving over to group 2, where it's, again, if there is an exchange of services, you're really kind of recognizing that. I think we have a similar process with a lot of town services when utilized. I don't know if anyone else has any thoughts. If those of you wanting to follow along very quickly, it is the very last page of that item, if you want to scroll into it on your respective laptops.
If I may, to superintendent's office, be able to kind of talk about the rationale of having them where they were originally?
Do you want to answer that one, Dr. Rogers? Or?
Sure, I can start, then you can
Sure.
fill in.
Yep.
So the intention behind, the initial intention behind these groupings was that group 3 did not exist before. So the intention was to say specifically if there is a for-profit organization or any other group that may, so we've used often we use the example of like a dance studio that rents your facility and they're a for-profit organization and thinking about generating some revenue by charging them an increased fee. And so we did some comparison of our surrounding districts and what they charge, even if their facilities may or may not have been as up to date as our facilities have been. And so what we did was look to increase the fees for that grouping. So I know that that's separate from your question, but just to give some context there for group 3. The group 2 nonprofit organizations remained consistent with your prior policy of your 2.5% or 3% escalator year to year, so that's where that is. As it relates to the school and town departments, we kept those, this is your decision as a committee, but we kept those in group 1 as that has historically been where those groups have resided. We don't charge fees to town departments, so for example, town elections, when we had the joint budget subcommittee meetings, at listening session tours and all those. I can't think of other ways the town uses our facilities. We could go back and get that information for you. But as it relates to those that we have not historically charged a fee, so that's why those remained in that group 1 grouping. What's that? Vaccine delivery through COVID times. Yes, the town used facilities for that.
We can go back and look and give examples. I'm thinking of sometimes where we've hosted town events that actually are community service too. So vaccines is a good example for that purpose, but I can't think of something that yet, so I don't want to overspeak, but yeah. That's why they are where they were categorized as well.
The historic piece of it.
I was having a conversation with a basketball league, CYO in town, and they had pointed out that like 150 students from Franklin High are playing. I wonder if there's something to factor in when there's actually students. I mean, I guess that might be limited, and maybe it's better off as a nonprofit. I'm just talking out loud. Just because there might be a nonprofit that has no students from Franklin, but then it becomes really nuanced and bandwidth, and I'll just stop talking for now.
All right.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
How often do we rent to outside of the community events?
I can get that data to you. Generally speaking, it is local organizations that we rent to. There's some standard organizations that come back year after year that run programs through our gymnasiums and things of that nature. I can think of a couple organizations throughout that we would have collected that higher group 3 rate at, but we are pretty selective, or have been in the past, and by doing this group 3 to generate revenue, we can really set targeted goals around what we may want to invest in one of those spaces. So say, for example, the middle school auditorium, if we want to do some upgrades, maybe we think about renting a space with the goal of collecting a certain amount of profit in order to put back into that said project. And so we would accept different rental requests based on reaching whatever that goal.
And how does our rate compare to other towns, per se, for that category?
With this group 3 now in effect, it would be comparable.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was an analysis done and presented to the policy subcommittee with some of that data, so we can share that, or one of the policy members could share that data with you too, to show you some of the, and they really looked locally, because it's not really accurate to pick a town too far away, so they look really locally at these areas, because we'd be competing with folks that are trying to host something within a radius, so that's how that was done.
Thanks.
Awesome. Any further?
Just if I may, I just want to make sure with your vote, because the KF and then KFE 1, 2, and 3, we would actually also, we have moved KFE 4 and E5 into that rental fee schedule. So you would also be voting to remove or consolidate, I should say. So I just don't know if that matters to the way the vote is worded.
We could always do a cleanup later to basically just strike it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think that's something for us to definitely make sure to note, is that E3 is now, or KFE3 is now absorbing E4 and E5.
E3, 4, and 5. Yep.
So we would do it at a different school committee night?
Yeah, it's just a matter of
vote to remove
strike.
too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, excellent, thank you for flagging that.
Yep.
All right. Any other questions, comments? Okay. Seeing no further questions, vote will come in the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, final vote for the night is the establishment of a new Strive student activity account. And basically, if you look, there's 3 of them. There's the middle school, the high school, and the post-high school 18 to 22-year-old students programming that exists, and if you have any questions, Mrs. Morano will be happy to answer them, but I'll just tee up the recommendation. I recommend the establishment of the new Strive student activity accounts as discussed.
Is there a motion to approve the Strive student activity accounts as discussed?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, questions, discussion? Stephen?
No, I don't have a question.
Okay. Reese?
No.
Nadia? Al?
Nope.
David? All right. Seeing no further questions or discussion, vote will come to motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay. Discussion only. You have in your packet 2 documents. The first is a monthly financial report that Ms. Malati put together. We're happy to answer any questions. Folks have them.
Do we have any questions? No? All right, excellent.
Great, thank you. Next, as we do quarterly, the Bi-County Collaborative, which we are a member, provides a quarterly report to all school districts. We put them in for you as you voted me to be your representative on their board, but ultimately wanted to put that out there. I say that every time. Maybe next time I'll just say it's the BICO quarterly report. I feel like we're beyond that now, but happy to try to answer any questions I can related to their report.
Any questions? All right, thank you.
Great.
Okay, so moving into information matters, these are subcommittees and liaisons. For those still following along as we approach 10. So superintendent evaluation, we'll be looking to get this on the schedule, so I'll be reaching out and figuring details out with the subcommittee, just for those following along. Now that we're kind of getting to the end of the school year, we've had the improvement plans, we've seen some of the progress made. The superintendent's goals have already been voted on. Basically, he's been trying to achieve them throughout the year. He will be presenting his evidence in one of the soon to be up, or one of the upcoming meetings. And then after that, essentially, we'll be then taking a poll from everybody, seeing how people feel about each one of those different points of evidence and his overall performance. That subcommittee will then come together, organize, and provide that back to the team. So we'll be working on that shortly. It's one of those subcommittees that is pretty narrow in focus and time and space. From the budget perspective, we have a joint budget subcommittee meeting on Thursday at 6. So this, again, for the community following along, we have the FinCom, they have 4 representatives, Town Council has 4 representatives, and School Committee has 3, mostly because there's only 7 of us. 4 would be, too many. We just didn't have a quorum. So we'll be meeting on Thursday to discuss kind of our strategic goals and a longer-term planning for the overall community in town, and looking to see kind of where things are going to be going. And at that point in time, we'll also figure out kind of what is up next. I think this is rooted in the budget season, but this is really looking well beyond that budget season, so it's not something where we're going to meet a bunch of times right before the town council votes. All of us are, it's just not enough time in the day for that. But what we'll do is we'll establish that kind of introductory period, setting those goals, letting everyone in the community know what is going on with our budget, but then also kind of saying, all right, great, next time we meet will be after the current budget season, and we'll be revisiting that longer term strategy at that point in time. So definitely everyone feel free to tune in. I know that'll also be recorded. There'll be a lot of information, very dense meeting, but please do tune in if you have that chance. Moving on to policy.
All right, so we already got a lot of this work done. That we'll kind of come back and see for a first, second read at our next meeting. We kind of finally got through a lot of like the heavy stuff that we've been working on for a couple of months. I was excited to kind of look forward to those other, I know Reese kind of talked about like the norms and procedures, like when's good to be order kind of appearing, talking about that. Nadia had stuff about field trips. And I was like, all right, there's a lot of great stuff that we'll be able to kind of go and embark on that we're all looking forward to. And then the news broke about the cell phone ban. And I figure it'll be an interesting topic as we kind of start to look into that. But we do have a lot of great stuff on the horizon. We started talking about emotional support dogs and at our last meeting, and we'll kind of continue on with that in May as well, along with some other items too.
And thank you, Vice Chair. I just wanted to speak to earlier today, Mrs. Kuhnel, who had commented back in January, reached out to me saying, just checking in on, is the technology issue going to come to policy? And I reassured her that my understanding is that our intention was to do so. But she had mentioned that a lot of parents had shared their appreciation of her comment and supported it. And I had said, well, have them just reach out to let me know as well. So us, we here on the committee have a sense of that, and they did so. I got 7 emails from parents over the last few hours, including one that came in during our meeting tonight. So I just wanted to reinforce that there continues to be community interest in us seeing us address that topic. And I also did let Ms. Kuhnel know, and to everyone else who emailed today, thank you. I will get back to you. I have not done so yet. But to let them know, about when it's coming up, but also that there were some timely matters that needed to take precedence as they related to the district improvement plan goals and certainly a summer project that can't get underway until the policy's in place. So I wanted to share that update and just kind of do my duty to keep that live for our constituents.
Oh, appreciate that. And we'll definitely kind of be working on that. Maybe I'll reach out to her and try to coordinate a time where we have our policy and pancakes meeting. We'll see what she's available for in the morning as well. Maybe she can kind of come and reiterate some of her points as well.
On that note, would it be an option to move them back to 6 o'clock now that we're meeting at 7?
I can chat with everybody, maybe offline.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you.
All right.
All right. Community relations, Al?
Yep, so we met this last week actually. We talked through upcoming newsletter, began our planning around the Strawberry Stroll, which will be on June 12th. We will be asking the Horseman policy or subcommittee, maybe help us with some like Horseman questions or trivia for that. We also are doing the magnets again, and I know we talked about ECDC in their enrollment, so we'll see what we can do to maybe advertise for that to kind of boost that out since we will have the public there. So yeah, some more planning to come. Expect those save the date, well you got the save the dates, but expect the time slot blockers. And I think that's it.
Awesome, thank you. Horseman Legacy, Dave?
Yeah, I can guarantee you we'll happily kind of go and do that, participate however we can. And so the next full meeting will be on April 27th at 7 o'clock. And then just to reiterate, Lucas, thanks for kind of talking about what's happening at the Historical Museum. And just again, to kind of reiterate, so on May 2nd from 10 to 1 over at the Historical Museum, they have like a birthday party for Horace Mann, family-friendly environment, and a lot of great things kind of going on for the kiddos, including birthday cake as well. And then the next day, so this is on May 3rd at 1 p.m., they have their speaker series, and this time it's an individual who had finished his academic thesis on Horace Mann, and so he'll kind of be giving a presentation. Doors open at 1, and I believe at 1:15 he's starting. And that's just on May 2nd and May 3rd. Big guy's birthday is actually on May 4th, and so we're having a whole weekend celebration for him.
Awesome, thank you very much. Joint PCC, Nadia?
Yep. Year-end planning is well underway at all schools. Washington Street is having a dining out fundraiser April 28th at the Chateau and a Red Sox Day at Fenway on May 8th. Bag bingo tickets for Lincoln Street's half are sold out, but the Washington Street half just opened up last night and there's still tickets available, so get them soon, or they might be opened up to Lincoln Street. So. For the middle school, PCC is collecting donations for Teacher Appreciation Week. Check out Mr. Williams' now famous need-to-know email for details on how you can contribute. FMS Spirit Week is underway. Check the morning announcements for the theme days this week. And I'm excited to announce that there will be a Footlighters Rising Star Theater after-school club starting after April break. They will meet Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday after school with late busing available. Activities fees will apply, and there was an interest survey sent out on Monday. The next joint PCC meeting is May 6th.
Thank you very much. School Wellness Advisory Council, Reese?
No updates for that or mental health task force We haven't met since our last main meeting, and I think both groups have one meeting left in May. We'll have the dates to share at our next main meeting.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Okay. So moving along into the consent agenda. Lucas?
I recommend approval of the minutes from your March 24th, 2026 school committee meeting as detailed. I recommend the acceptance of $5,700 from the Washington Street 3 to 5 PCC for field trips as detailed. I recommend the acceptance of $2,500 from DCU for an FHS scholarship as detailed. I recommend the acceptance of $628.52 from Ahold Delhaize USA Incorporated for supplemental supplies at Lincoln Street K-2 Elementary School as detailed. And I recommend acceptance of $3,500 for FHS scholarships as follows. Meg Brackley, $1,500, Jim Gray Scholarship, Van Drivers, $2,000, Carol Marr Memorial.
Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as detailed?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion, questions? Excellent. Vote will come on the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, go to the order. It is the first time we've met this month. Wow. Halfway through. So any points folks want to bring up, working with, basically overall set, how we're doing things, anything like that? Seeing some down here.
Just an announcement. Lifelong Learning and Franklin Police community officers are hosting a free class for middle schoolers to learn about how to be safe online in using social media. That is Tuesday, April 28th from 4:30 to 5:30 at Franklin High School, and you must pre-register.
Thank you. No?
Yep. And I'm not sure how much of this is in our control, so passing it to you, Superintendent Jagir.
Okay.
When you do a Google search for schools in Franklin, all of the old schools still pop up. It hasn't been updated, so I'm not sure what the process is to...
I want you to know about a year ago, I went into Google, I logged in, and I found their forum or their area where you can make edits or suggest them. I did submit for every school an address to change the school names, and I never received any confirmation back, so I don't know where that went. We're going to continue to try to pursue. I don't know how that happens, but if there's anyone online who knows someone at Google who could help me, I'd be grateful. And I did try my best to update, and I did provide the document of the voting where the official, I did everything I could to say that, because anyone could rename anything, I think, if you just let people go in. So I did try to follow the right chain. I'm looking for help from someone who might know how to do that. But certainly, I deal with it now in my calendar when I put in, I have to go to the old schools and look at the address, and so I understand.
Yeah, okay, cool, thank you. Yeah, at least the good part is that it's still, if you click on the link, it goes to our website, so that's correct, but it's just, outside of us, so, thank you.
I was thinking of the map feature, too.
Yes.
Oh, that's what you were thinking of, or no?
Yeah,
Okay, all
that's
right.
it. Mhm.
Covered on Wikipedia, can't do it on Google.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
I tried, I got
Maybe
rejected
Steve
on
can
one of
help.
mine too.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
I was thinking.
You can help.
No, I was just saying that I work with Google a lot, so I can check, I can find out. Yeah.
That'd be great.
There we go.
There we go.
Thank you.
Problem solved. By next meeting, right?
Yeah, I wish.
Thank you.
I mean, I have nothing to say, but I just wanted to say that have a good holidays next week, spring break. So kids have fun and then get refreshed and come back to school.
That's a good message.
Awesome.
All set?
All right.
Real quick, maybe I missed this. Do we have school committee meeting dates after the school year? looking calendar, I got like the June 23rd is a possible question mark, and then after that, I was like, oh, I got the summer off.
I want to say we have one in July.
Yeah, you voted on your school committee calendar.
Yeah, I want to say we have
Okay.
one in July, one in August, yeah, and then it picks right back up, but it's very sparse over the summer.
Yeah, we can add, if it's not on, did you search on? we
I
can-
took a look on the website at one point too, and I couldn't quite find it,
Yeah,
but
it's-
if it's all there, perfect.
We'll elevate that to the right spot for people to see.
Yeah, it's there until 23rd.
Yeah, yeah.
So the new dates are not in there. We'll make sure to update the website.
Okay, all
Yep.
right, appreciate that.
All right. So then, new business?
New business, next meeting is the joint meeting between the town council and the school committee on strategic planning and the proposals review. So that's happening on May 12th. And we've really just dedicated that night to that, for that purpose. So that's what's next.
With snacks.
With snacks, yes, with snacks, very good.
I'm not saying I'm looking forward to it, but like, snacks.
Yeah, soup.
Reese and I were eating for a week.
Any questions or comments with new business or looking to add anything from the committee? No? Excellent. So then moving past that into adjournment, do we have a motion to adjourn the open meeting?
Motion to adjourn?
Is there a second?
Second.
Non-debatable. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Good night, everyone.
Thank you.